The protagonist's skill, copy, lets him duplicate a monster's ability. But the success rate is abysmally low, forcing him to get dangerously close to his targets. It's a useless skill. Two guys walk up, mocking him. How long is this gonna take? You're just holding us back. Hey, don't be like that, Kakaru chides them. We're all comrades here. Then he tells Kisaragi, just try to make the most of that crappy skill of yours. Sakasa's thoughts drift. This is why he became an adventurer. It was all to cure his little sister, Mayu, his only family who has been ill since birth. He's chasing the elixir, an all-powerful medicine that can cure any illness. Until he gets his hands on it, he can't afford to give up. So, what's our target? Riku asks. Aren't we heading to the boss room? Hayato adds. The Flame Master smirks. Our target is the monster's lair. We're taking all the treasure for ourselves. Deeper in the dungeon, a blaze intensifies. Feel the heat of my flames. Kakaru yells at a beast. The protagonist checks his stats. Even though they're just goblins, he realizes he can still level up if he can just defeat enough of them. He mutters to himself, the only way is to vanquish monsters, ... But I can barely handle one on my own. And even in a party, everyone else takes them all down, so I get no experience. If it's going to be like this, following them was pointless. Elsewhere, they discover treasure. The two boys rush ahead while the master heads to a corner and blasts it open, revealing a bonus room. Bonus rooms are great, but on the other hand, they're usually filled with traps. One wrong step could get them eliminated instantly. What about the traps? One of the boys asks. Not a problem, Kakeru replies with a grin. I have a great idea. He walks over to the protagonist and strikes him. Kisaragi collapses. The Flame Master gives a fake apology as he grabs him, whispering, You're going to be a sacrifice for the team. Tsukasa gasps for air, unable to speak. Are we really going to use him to set off the traps? Riku asks. Using a comrade as a guinea pig. That's pretty dark, Hayato says. I'm just finding a use for a piece of trash, Kasiru retorts. The two boys grab the protagonist and shove him through the door. We'll meet again. If you survive, the Flame Master says. Kisaragi curses him under his breath as he sits on the floor. A brilliant light flares as mana begins to swirl. Tsukasa opens his eyes, looking around. Where am I? He scrambles to his feet, terrified. A voice echoes. Each dungeon has its own classification. Beginner, intermediate, advanced, heroic, and a final rank that no one has ever conquered. Mythical. A mythical rank dungeon, the protagonist exclaims. A trap inside a low-level dungeon brought me here. No way. ... he says, his mind racing. His parents were suddenly gone one day. His sister is all he has left. For my sister's sake, he declares, I refuse to be finished in a place like this. He charges forward, sword in hand, unleashing a powerful strike. A moment later, Kisaragi is on the ground, badly wounded. The system chimes, ailed to copy the target's skill. The beast looms over him. Tsukasa pushes himself up, his face covered in grime, thinking of his little sister. I'm sorry. Suddenly, the stones on the floor begin to tremble. The protagonist stares in shock as the beast struggles to keep its footing. A new voice rings out as a figure appears. I would appreciate it if you were a bit more gentle. He is an important guest. Welcome to my castle. It's a pleasure to finally meet you. Kisaragi is confused and uncertain about his own identity. The woman says he's in better shape than she expected, but assumes it's still impossible for him as he is now. She touches him, calling it her gift. A circle of light forms around them as she tells him to be grateful. Kisaragi's eyes widen as the system announces his skill has evolved into Imitator. An immense influx of mana particles causes an instant level up. The protagonist realizes he's leveled up and his skill has evolved. Observing him, the woman announces her departure and begins to walk away. Kisaragi shouts for her to wait, confused by everything. The woman tells him to use his newfound power to defeat her. Only then will he be able to leave this mythical dungeon. She vanishes in an instant. The beast approaches to attack again, but Kisaragi blocks it with his sword, activating the imitator skill. He holds his ground. The target, Fenrir the God Eater, has its skill copied. He wonders how he is supposed to fight this beast. As they face off, a notification confirms the successful copy of the target's skill. Celestial authority envelops the user's body with divine power, maximizing all physical abilities. He realizes the skill could let him win, but it only lasts for 1 minute. He'll have to choose the right moment to use it. Kisaragi moves swiftly, effortlessly, dodging his opponent's attacks. His body feels light. His reaction time is faster thanks to the level up. The fight rages on. He's still amazed he could copy the skill. This new imitator ability is insane. The certainty of copying a skill just by touch is incredible. But he wonders what it means to experience it firsthand. However, the beast emits a powerful wave of mana, striking him without any physical contact. The system notifies that the skill's effect has limited his mobility. Kisaragi struggles to breathe as another notification confirms vigor of the divine wolf has been successfully copied. The skill uses the silver wolf's presence to intimidate opponents, severely hindering the target's movements. The protagonist understands experiencing it means facing the skill head-on, a realization that almost brings him to tears as he looks up at the approaching beast. He stares it down and dodges the attack, noticing the shattered ground. A direct hit would mean the end for him. The monster lunges, its enormous mouth snapping shut as it tries to crush him. He keeps dodging, thinking that his strength will run out at this rate. Even with a 100% chance to copy a skill, he'll be eliminated if he tries to endure one of its attacks. Kisaragi stares hard and activates Celestial Authority, releasing a huge impact. As the beast moves, the system notifies him of another successful skill copy. A huge aura of mana surrounds him. He grips his sword, gets into an attack stance, and declares it's time for a counterattack. Kisaragi attacks, moving with incredible speed. So this is Celestial Authority. He's overflowing with power. He strikes his opponent and continues, filled with the confidence that he can win. With only 30 seconds left on the skill's timer, the protagonist continues his relentless assault. He thinks that he needs to defeat the enemy before time runs out. He will defeat it with Venerin. He attacks with the Venerin skill, emitting a brilliant light that causes a massive impact, destroying everything around. He notes the range wasn't because of the level difference. Kisaragi then closes the distance, declaring he'll land a direct hit. He strikes his enemy and approaches, only to realize it had no effect. The wolf unleashes a great torrent of mana from its mouth as Kisaragi watches the flames approach. He leaps into the air, observing his opponent on the ground. He aims his sword, striking the wolf in the eye. The protagonist then pulls the sword from his enemy's eye and stands over it, watching. He raises his sword again, aiming for the eye, but a voice suddenly commands him to stop. The system announces that Imitator has activated, successfully copying the target's skill. The woman approaches, saying that was a wonderful performance. With a flick of her finger, she declares the fight is over and that now it's time for a peaceful tea party. Kisaragi asks why she is doing this. The woman replies that it is perhaps to pass the time, as adventurers rarely make it there. Even if they try, Fenrir eliminates them immediately, and she never expected to encounter someone like him. Kisaragi asks if she would listen to his request. The woman replies that she wishes to experience the outside world for herself, but the low concentration of mana particles prevents her from exploring freely. That is why she would like his cooperation. The protagonist responds that he understands. The woman looks surprised. I didn't expect you to reply so quickly. Kisaragi thinks asterisk there are too many unknowns. I still can't trust her. Asterisk. Asterisk. But she did help me against that beast, and I have a gut feeling that working with her is the right move. Asterisk. He asks, so how exactly do we get to the outside world? Her eyes widen again before she pulls him into a hug. You used up so much of your strength. It's okay. Takasa then asks, what's your name? My name is Loki, she says. I look forward to working with you. Later, in another place, the protagonist lies in a bed, staring at an unfamiliar ceiling. A voice calls out, you're finally awake. Who's there? He asks. Loki sighs. Have you forgotten me already? She stares at him. You're so insensitive. It's then that Kisaragi finally recognizes her. Loki tells him to drop the honorifics. I thought I'd finally get to enjoy the outside world, ... Double quotes, ... but I've been stuck here the whole time and I'm so bored. Are you gonna make it up to me? Get off me, he says. We'll sort this out later. First, tell me what happened after I passed out. Loki explains I carried you and teleported to a beginner-ranked dungeon. Takasa asks, so how did you get me to a hospital? That's just what this place is called, she says. I left you unconscious right where we teleported in. An adventurer found you and brought you here. The protagonist asks, then why didn't you leave the dungeon until now? Loki explains, this dungeon helps me maintain my true form. This realm has an extremely low amount of mana, and I need a lot of it. I can only manage this youthful form out here. I couldn't travel around otherwise. Kisaragi says you'd be taken in for protection by the police. Loki smacks him. Tsukasa asks, why did you help me back then? Because I wanted your cooperation, she answers with a smile. I'll save the details for later. She raises her hand. Where are you going? He asks. I'm not so rude as to intrude on a family reunion, Loki replies. And just like that, she vanishes. Kisaragi hears a sound and tenses up. Looking over, he sees his sister at the door. Mayu runs to hug him, crying, You've been in a coma for a week. The doctors said you might never wake up. I had no idea it was that long, ... Takasa says. I'm sorry, I made you worry. I'm just so happy you're awake, she says. I'm not going anywhere, he tells her. We're all each other has. Mayu smiles. You need to rest. You shouldn't overdo it either, he says. Don't worry, she replies. I've been feeling great lately. Kisaragi realizes she's as energetic as he's ever seen her. The goddess reappears? Was that your sister? Yes, Tsukasa confirms. She's my only family. He thinks of his sister who's been sick since birth. Every doctor said her condition was incurable. That's why I've been exploring dungeons ... to find the elixir that can cure any disease. I'm sorry to tell you this, Loki says, but your sister's illness can't be cured. Not even with that elixir. The protagonist is stunned. The origin of her condition, she explains, is most likely a dungeon curse. It's a curse from a skill, but I don't know who cast it. This is the work of another mythical being like me. So if I defeat the god who cast it, will the curse break? Kisaragi asks. It will, the goddess confirms. Tsukasa looks at her. I will defeat the god who cursed my sister. Will you help me? Loki is silent for a moment. Then she stands and replies, I'll help you. Besides, I'm curious to see who did this to her. Thank you, he says. We'll need to hit the dungeons every day for your training, Loki says. You need more experience. But I still have school, Kisaragi protests. What's that? She asks. Takasa explains all the students at my school, Tengetu Academy, are awakened. It's a school for people who want to become adventurers. In any case, we're a team now. She replies, I look forward to it. 3 days later, on a day off at the Japan Dungeon Management Organization, a voice says, we can't allow you to enter the dungeon as a solo party. The receptionist adds, we have to consider the level difference. Typically, when adventuring alone, it's safer to face monsters at a lower level than you. Facing monsters of the same level is considered a balanced fight. But fighting a higher level monster significantly increases the danger. Your current level is 4, and the monsters in the beginner ranked dungeon, the Goblin Lair, are at least level 5. Even if the difference is small, it's still the rule. The goddess finds this insulting. Should I turn her into dust? Don't say things like that, he whispers. We agreed not to show them your true power. His current level is 25, but the last time he entered a dungeon, he was just level 4 with the skill copy. The dungeon's original data still has him archived. Since then, he's become level 25 with a totally different skill. It would be a huge hassle if they found out. Loki calls him tolerant and asks if he's just being lazy. She adds that it's too early to turn back and tells him to try using wordplay. Thinking the results will be interesting, the protagonist thinks about the skill he copied earlier, remembering that activating any skill here is prohibited. He gets thoughtful and decides to give it a try. He asks if it's possible to enter a dungeon solo and activates his wordplay skill. The receptionist asks to see his D card to begin processing the request. Kisaragi wonders to himself if they even know he used a skill. Sun replies that wordplay can't be detected because it's a divine skill. Sakasa thinks he underestimated it. The goddess asks if it was just her imagination or if she sensed a little disrespect. A while later, at the dungeon gate, which connects with all the other dungeons, allowing free travel in and out of any dungeon they wish. The scan of the boy's D card is confirmed and the gate opens. They need to proceed with caution. They watch the gate. The protagonist declares that no matter which dungeon he must conquer or which monster he must face, if it's to break his sister's curse, he will even take down a god. They enter the goblin lair's first floor. The goddess asks what they'll do now. He replies that they'll find out just how far they can go. They notice something. Goblins appear. Kisaragi draws his sword and says he'll start by testing his strength against these guys. He rushes the beast and takes it down in a single blow. Loki says that in his current state, opponents like these are not even a challenge. Tsukasa tells her to let him enjoy it, saying this is the first time he's ever defeated a goblin on his own. Sun mentions that he's level 25, so of course he can handle them. His level increased so much because she granted him a large amount of mana particles. Thanks to that, he can now defeat goblins he couldn't before without breaking a sweat. He thanks her, saying he's in her debt. She replies that it was a simple task and asks what's next. Kisaragi answers that they'll keep going deeper. The goal is to reach the boss room. They continue on. The goddess sighs, saying that this place is incredibly boring. He asks if she expected something else. Loki responds that yes, she was hoping for an intense battle to make her spirit boil. But none of the monsters here are worthy opponents, and she points out the brute strength that finally deigned to show itself. They spot several goblins. Tsukasa moves swiftly, taking them down with ease, and says that the first move secures victory. He continues to dispatch them quickly, thinking that even against so many goblins, he can't easily handle them now. He was worried about whether he could actually fight, but this is a walk in the park. The beasts keep approaching from all directions. The protagonist looks confident, raising his sword, which glows with intense mana. Sun watches in shock and tells him to stop. But Kisaragi uses his Van skill anyway, causing an explosion. Then the mist stirs. He watches as something happens. His body's enveloped in a red aura, and he collapses to the ground. The goddess says that's why she told him to stop, explaining that this is the price of using divine techniques with a weak human body. He says this didn't happen the last time he used it. Loki clarifies that he was using celestial authority at that moment. He asks if he can't use Fenrir's skills unless he activates celestial authority. Sun says yes, and declares that from this moment on, the use of celestial authority is forbidden, and all other skills copied from Fenrir are now sealed and unavailable. Tsukasa watches, stunned. The goddess says it's a disadvantage for him. He shouldn't trust his trump card so much. It's called a trump card because it should be saved for the very end. The protagonist says that's why he can't stand cheating gods. After some time, they arrive at a dungeon gate and stand before it. The Goblin King is the final boss of the Goblin Lair, and its summon subordinate skill allows it to summon goblins infinitely. She says he's capable of defeating this boss. It's a test to see if an awakened has what it takes. They observe, then enter. Loki says, so that's the boss, noting he looks confident for a mere goblin. They watch. Kisaragi grips his sword and wonders why he should be afraid. The boss rises to its giant size, its mana flaring as it summons a horde of goblins. Sakasa thinks that, compared to Fenrir, this is nothing and he should be fine alone. The goddess considers igniting the flames of his anger and indignation. The boss begins to emit a deafening roar, unleashing immense power. The king and the goblins go into a frenzy. The protagonist asks what she did. Loki replies that it's a test and to give it his all. Kisaragi watches, startled, then smiles, calling her a Spartan goddess. The goblins run toward him and he moves to meet them. Sun watches and thinks that if he can't defeat these lower-level monsters without using celestial authority, his prospects aren't worth considering. Meanwhile, Sakasa fights the beast with his sword. He observes the goblins and continues fighting. The beast leaps to attack him. Then, he moves quickly, cutting the monsters in half, thinking that he can no longer land a finishing blow due to the buff the goddess gave them. The boss opens its huge mouth, emitting a loud roar. The protagonist says the goblins keep swarming because of its unique skill. Summon subordinate. They don't stop coming. And the aura gets stronger with more goblins being summoned. Kisaragi thinks that since the Goblin King has the Berserk status, all the goblins he summons have the same buff. Unless he defeats the king, he'll be stuck in a losing battle. In this case, he'll seal its skills so it doesn't cause any more trouble. He activates wordplay, releasing several chains and trapping the boss, but the king's strength shatters the chains and it rushes to strike him. However, Sakasa manages to block the blow. He asks what happened. Loki says he had the right idea, and it would have worked if she hadn't granted it the Berserk status, which is a problem. The protagonist realizes the king's skills weren't sealed. The boss emits another loud roar. Sun says the enemy he intends to challenge is a god, and he must find a way to turn the tables in this situation. Kisaragi thinks the one who cast the curse is the boss of a mythical ranked dungeon. If he's struggling to defeat an enemy like this, he'll never be able to save anyone. The goddess asks if he can still fight. Sakasa responds, "Yes, of course I can," and thinks an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. He moves quickly, eliminating the goblins with a single blow. Then he runs toward the watching boss. The king's eyes widen as it screams, emitting an aura. The protagonist says it seems the king used summon subordinate. He drives his sword into the ground and says, "I'll take your skill for myself." The system notifies that plagiarism has been activated and the skill was successfully copied. Kisaragi calls out and summon subordinate activates, creating a large mana circle. He watches the bright light until he notices something, a small wolf with tiny paws. The wolf keeps rubbing against his leg. The goddess starts laughing. Sakasa observes and wonders if this is the same Fenrir he faced in that mythical ranked dungeon, thinking that even though it's small, he can see the resemblance. Then, more goblins approach. The wolf also moves toward them, using its ability and burning them away. The protagonist watches, surprised. The wolf wags its tail, and Kisaragi pets it, asking if it will fight by his side. He continues petting it until the king approaches. Tsukasa says he'll leave the small fries to the wolf. Then he and the king both move quickly. The wolf goes toward the goblins and the protagonist moves toward the boss. The king approaches and attacks, but Kisaragi manages to block with his sword and shouts as he makes a quick move. He observes his opponent's legs and attacks them. The king falls to the ground, crying out and noticing that all the goblins have been defeated. Tsukasa looks on and, with his sword in hand, strikes the king, causing a crimson spray. He calls for the wolf, signaling it. Then, Fenrir attacks the monster. The protagonist jumps and strikes his enemy's head with his sword, eliminating him and watching the crystal. Loki says he was clever, but just because he defeated a dungeon boss doesn't mean he can become arrogant. Kisaragi responds that he understands this, thinking that he's only a beginner. Yet he still managed to complete it alone. He will continue getting stronger until, one day, he can give his sister a comfortable life. Sun asks what he's going to name the little one. Tsukasa thinks for a moment, then says he'll name him Lofen, thinking it's just a play on Fenrir's name. He says it's time to call it a day, and that they'll exchange the magic stones and buy something tasty for his sister. The goddess says she wants to eat some sweets. The receptionist asks if he cleared the dungeon alone. The protagonist confirms that he did, and here are the crystals as proof of completion. I'd like to exchange them for money. The receptionist tells him to wait while she processes the request, wondering how he cleared the dungeon alone when he's only level 4. A short while later, Kisaragi is walking and says, "That settles things. It's time to head back." He looks to the side and notices the team that used him as bait in the dungeon, calling a girl over to join them. Tsukasa observes the girl and thinks she's considered the #1 awakened. Ren apologizes and says she has no interest in joining them. The protagonist remarks, "She's so tough." The girl notices him. The Flame Master's team spots him. Hosanna calls for him to wait, and he stops, admitting he's surprised to see her here. She tells him she came looking for him, explaining she got a call from an unknown receptionist about an awakened who entered a dungeon alone at just level 4. She's sure he knows who she means. Kisaragi thinks that she's in his class and the academy's #1 student, the school for the awakened. With her looks on top of that, he knows the media is never far behind. But to him, she's a girl completely out of his league. He figures the receptionist must have called her after his wordplay skill wore off. He recalls facing the receptionist and using wordplay. He thinks forcing his way into the dungeon was a mistake. The girl says he can at least show his D card, unless there's something on it he can't show. Tsukasa looks flustered. How she asks if he's hiding something, as the goddess in his head says he's easily swayed. Without thinking, he blurts out, "I'm not being swayed." He instantly covers his mouth and changes the subject, saying he just needs to show her the D card. He pulls his card from his pocket just as the Flame Master and his group approach. The protagonist looks confident. Kakaru says he heard he made it out safely, and that they're all relieved because they feared they had lost a member of their party. An irritated Kisaragi looks on, grumbling. The Flame Master says he'll ask the girl one more time to join them. Ren ignores him and asks if Tsukasa can show his D card. Everyone stares in disbelief. The protagonist holds out his D card. The girl notes he's level 15. She says she had a hunch it was him and that clearing the dungeon alone is incredibly impressive. She thinks it's no surprise he defeated the boss. Kisaragi thinks he must have updated the information on a fake D card. Hashi remarks that she never realized he had so much hidden talent. It's all thanks to the goddess, Tsukasa thinks. The other team immediately starts shouting that it's a lie. They claim there's no way he could complete a dungeon by himself. They bet he cheated somehow and say they'll back off if he confesses everything. Ren asks if they're serious, pointing out that it's impossible to forge a D card. She asks the boy if he's free, suggesting they party up to run a dungeon together sometime. The Flame Master hears this and angrily demands to know why she's choosing him. Model, telling her not to let him deceive her, and calls her again so they can clear intermediate ranked dungeons. Hoshi interrupts, asking if he isn't finished talking. She says the protagonist cleared a dungeon alone, unlike them. Besides, she never liked people like him. And lastly, it's not like she didn't know the things he did. She remembers him mistreating Kisaragi and pushing him inside to be eliminated. The Flame Master looks furious, grabs the boy's shirt, and asks if he's been slandering him. Tsukasa responds that he could make excuses or get rid of him, wondering what to do as the other is about to strike. But the protagonist blocks and pushes his hand away. The master grumbles, asking if he's trying to make him look stupid and telling him to calm down. Cake tells him to shut up and unleashes his flame. Then in a flash, the girl moves to block the attack. Kisaragi watches as she is about to be attacked. Hashi asks if he has any idea what he's doing, saying it's forbidden to use skills outside a dungeon. The Flame Master says it's his fault, not hers. The girl says she's amazed he can say that with his head held high. She pulls the boy along. Tsukasa asks where they're going. Everyone looks on, annoyed, muttering that the girl belongs to him. Meanwhile, in another location, The Cobalt Settlement is a beginner-ranked dungeon with a recommended level of 15. The protagonist follows Hashi, wondering what she expects to achieve and if she's really okay with fighting them alone. The girl replies that she's fine and tells him to just watch her for now. The kobolds approach to attack. She moves, eliminating them in an instant. Kisaragi watches in amazement, and the goddess is surprised by her swordsmanship. Then Ren says it's his turn, telling him to show what he's capable of. He dashes in with his sword and quickly steps back. Hashi tells him to stay on guard, as kobolds are different from goblins. She explains there are 2 ways to defeat an enemy with a shield. You can either break the shield by force, ... She watches him as he moves swiftly, dodging. The girl tells him to use a feint to get past their guard. Sakasa stares intently before taking down the kobold with a clean strike. Ren thinks he's better than she thought, and maybe she'll actually invite him. She says he did a good job, so she'll let him handle the big one. The test is in front of the boss room. The mini-boss. As they observe, the Cobalt General approaches, flanked by other kobolds. They start by taking down the minions. The duo handles the kobolds with ease, dodging just as the general attacks. Stepping back, they see there are too many minions to make fighting them worthwhile. Hashi asks him what he wants to do now. He suggests taking out the small fry first before focusing on the main target. The girl agrees to the plan. They quickly dispatch the minions. Kisaragi attacks, asking if her guild is fine with her raiding a dungeon with him. Hashi says yes, adding that she plans on leaving the guild soon anyway. He starts to say something, but she cuts him off, telling him to save it for later. They close in on the general to attack, and Tsukasa strikes him in the stomach with his sword. The girl says she'll follow, but more minions appear and try to attack them. They fall back, and Hoshi gets annoyed, saying that this whole situation is getting on her nerves. She starts attacking the minions, asking him what his problem is. If starting a guild with him means constantly teaming up, she'll just do it alone. He asks if she's really quitting her guild, thinking to himself that she's leaving Resplendent Sanguineo, the biggest guild in existence. Just like that, the girl confirms it, saying that while the guild has its perks, it's more trouble than it's worth. Just thinking about it makes her furious. She declares she's going to use these guys to blow off some steam. She says her skill has a wide range and is a bit weaker against a single target, then calls upon the stars to rain down on them. A surge of mana is released, causing several intense flame attacks. Kisaragi remarks that this is the true power of the young #1 adventurer. Hoshi says she feels refreshed and that only the boss room is left, but suggests they take a break. They sit on a rock. She asks if he's ever heard of the great hero. He asks if she means the first adventurer in Japan to clear a heroic ranked dungeon. The girl says his name was Michiga, but that was his old name. He changed his surname to Hoshi after he got married. She explains that this sword was a gift from him. Her grandfather always told her stories about his dangerous journeys with his companions, exploring a world free from everything, and she wants to experience that kind of fairy tale adventure for herself. She looks at him and continues, saying that's why she plans to start her own guild soon, and hopes she can borrow his strength when the time comes. Tsukasa says that's fine by him. He'd be happy to help. Hashi says it's time to head to the boss room. After a while they arrive. Taidug and his group are already there, saying they took too long. Cake sneers that he's been waiting for the girl and that piece of trash. The protagonist looks annoyed. The girl asks what he's doing here. The Flame Master asks if it isn't obvious he's here to help his irreplaceable friends. Kisaragi thinks that sounds completely insincere coming from him. Hashi observes them. Tadu says he came to make sure his friends didn't do anything reckless, adding that his father even provided them with new equipment as requested. The girl asks if he's going to challenge the boss or not. Since they arrive first, they get to go first. The right to challenge belongs to them. Although she hates to admit it, the right to challenge the boss goes to the first group that reaches its room. It's an unwritten rule among adventurers, he says. You bet I will. I'll prove I'm serious about reaching the top. You'll see my true glory in action while you idiots just watch. Hoshi says they'll just watch and see what they've got. Meanwhile, the goddess is watching them on a screen. She gets irritated and says that guy has some nerve to mock them. The Cobalt King, the boss of this floor, appears. Besides having the same summon subordinate skill as the Goblin King, he also has a powerful skill called Thunderblade. The three of them face the king and attack with flames, engulfing it in fire. Cake asks if she liked the show, boasting that this is his true power. Loki orders the king to fill with madness and become a tyrant of destruction. Tsukasa watches as the king rises, now stronger, letting out a roar as it levels up. The master unleashes his flames, but the boss walks right through them and attacks. He swings his sword, sending him flying. Hashi asks what just happened. In his thoughts, the protagonist asks his goddess what this is all about. She replies that it should be obvious this is the price for getting in their way. He tries to run, telling the king to stay away. The boss moves to strike him with its sword, but the girl intervenes, blocking the attack and even mocking him. The goddess asks if he's just going to stand there while she's in danger. The boss looks furious. Someone steps on its face. Kizaragi leaps into action, calling out to the girl to grab him. He tells Taidu and the others to get out of there, vowing to defeat the boss. The Flame Master scoffs that there's no way a loser like him can win. They watch as Hoshi puts her trust in him, telling him she'll leave it in his hands but not to push himself too hard. So Kasa tells his goddess to tone down the tricks and calls for Luthen. Cake demands to know what in the world that thing is. The girl thinks it's cute. The protagonist gives the order for the wolf to handle the kobolds. Lofin then rushes toward them. Kizaragi clashes with the king, but his enemy flings him away. He recovers and leaps, striking his opponent and drawing first strike, but thinks it's too shallow. The king screams. Tsukasa confirms he successfully copied the target's skill. Thunder Blade envelops the user's weapon in pulsating lightning, increasing strength and attack speed. The onlookers grow worried. The protagonist eyes his enemy and tells his wolf to go. Lofin dashes forward using his ability to attack. However, the boss sees it coming and starts to roar. Kizaragi raises his sword, declaring, "Let the thunder roar!" As Thunderblade activates, its second effect harnesses lightning to unleash a stunning attack. He flashes toward his opponent. He strikes, declaring this is the end. A blinding light erupts and the boss is eliminated. Hashi watches in shock. Tsukasa, crystal in hand, states that it's over. The girl praises him, wondering who he truly is. Elsewhere, Loki questions if he really needs to attend school, since dungeon diving would be a better use of his time. The protagonist replies that he has to attend school to be allowed into dungeons. Besides, the school has a ton of info on portals, which might help him find clues about the curse on his sister. Loki says that diving into dungeons is the best way to get stronger, and he can do as he pleases. She mentions something interesting in the academy shop and that she's going to enjoy the show. Meanwhile, on the academy's second floor, Kizaragi enters the classroom to a wave of stares. They mutter, thinking he'd been eliminated, and wonder how much longer he'll keep trying to be an adventurer. Tsukasa muses that everyone thought he was eliminated, then notices his partner approaching. Hashi thanks him for yesterday. The protagonist insists he should be thanking her for the lesson. She then asks what he thinks of the next dungeon, the dwelling of the eliminated. He thinks that he still doesn't know Hashi's true strength and he's determined to uncover her secrets. She must suspect something, he thinks, so he can't be too flashy with his skills around her. The other students are confused, watching the class ace being so friendly with the failure. As they talk, she asks if he's free after school. Suddenly, someone storms into the room. It's Cake. He looks furious, demanding how he has the nerve to show his face. Hashi defends her partner, and the two glare at each other. Kizaragi thinks, great, I hope this doesn't turn into another hassle. The flame user challenges him to a fight, vowing to expose his lies. Tsukasa wonders why. His goddess just smiles. Cake taunts him, asking if he really cleared a dungeon alone and if he's going to chicken out. The protagonist says no and accepts the challenge. I really don't want to stand out, and this is such a hassle, he thinks. Loki suggests that he should tell them to bring their friends to ease her boredom. Kisaragi thinks it would be a pain if that happened again. Maybe she's right. It's better to settle things here and now. He declares that he'll fight. He says they can bring their friends because he'll take them all down and won't hear any excuses when they lose. The flame user gets even more ticked off. The goddess chimes in that a simple fight is no fun and suggests a bet. However, Cake declares that if Kisaragi wins, he'll let Hashi leave their guild and make the OG DJ approve her new guild registration. Since his father is the OG DJ director, it's about her dream of going further. Hashi looks flustered. Cake, still fuming, insults him. Later, at the Academy's training field, the protagonist states the rules. First to fall or surrender loses. Cake agrees, saying he'll lose anyway. They glare at each other before Cake unleashes a torrent of flames. Kisaragi blocks as Riku rushes in to attack, but he smashes the ground instead, yelling at him to stop dodging. Then Hayato unleashes a Mani-infused skill, but Kisaragi blocks that too. The flame user vows to burn him to a crisp. He flicks his finger, casting Firestorm. Hashi looks on with concern. He sneers, once a failure, always a failure, and says he'll regret this for the rest of his life. The protagonist emerges unscathed, asking who called him eliminated as he activates his plagiarism skill, Herculean strength and lightning. Meanwhile, Loki watches, scoffing that his opponent thinks those weak flames can win. They charge in to attack. Riku gets close, about to land a punch, but Kisaragi blocks it effortlessly. Everyone is stunned. He lands a hit, then swiftly pivots and strikes again, sending his opponent flying. Cake taunts him. The Casa says, "Let's end this." Tadu watches, then unleashes a barrage of flames everywhere. He blocks them effortlessly. The crowd murmurs, wasn't he supposed to be weak? Hoshi thinks this is a walk in the park for him. Kisaragi asks, giving up already? As his enemy hurls another insult, he remarks, "You really shouldn't curse so much." Kate continues her taunts. Tsukasa says, "Enough talk. Come at me." Hayato unleashes his skill, but the protagonist dodges, closes the distance, and says, "It's lights out for you," blasting him with lightning. Then he faces the master. So the boy's skill lets him copy others, he thinks. So he copied the lightning skill, but it has a low success rate and can only be used once before vanishing. His luck's about to run out. I'll show him the real difference in our skills. Sun laughs. That guy really thinks he can still win? Kisaragi thinks I need to keep my skills evolution a secret. Unlike plagiarism, copied skills can only be used once. That's why I'll avoid using Herculean strength or lightning again. However, the painful scars of his past will separate them here and now. Cake snaps, "Don't get cocky over one lucky win." Tsukasa smirks, "Feel free to run if you're scared." The Flame Master growls, "I'll shut that mouth of yours for good," and lunges with his sword. Their attacks collide. He watches his opponent unleash a fiery blast, causing a massive explosion. Hoshi watches, worried for her partner. Cake grins. "Now that's what I'm talking about." Kisaragi emerges from the smoke. "Didn't you already try that? Couldn't you learn a new trick?" His opponent tries to speak, but he interrupts. "Your skill never even touched me." "Impossible. I hit you. There was no way to dodge that," Takasa says, "except that explosion wasn't from your flames. It was from mine." The Flame Master, irritated, wonders, "He copied my skill? Just now?" Thinking that his copy skill had barely worked until now. "Time to finish this," the protagonist says, charging his opponent. Cake unleashes a volley of fireballs at him. Kisaragi blocks and closes in on his enemy, leaping into the air for a strike, and lands another blow on his opponent. He growls in pain, his anger flaring. Loki yells to his partner, "Don't move!" Suddenly, the Flame Master is struck by an unseen force. Tsukasa conjures flames. He realizes, did he copy my skill again? And yells, "I surrender!" The protagonist replies, "Don't worry, I won't let this eliminate you." Scorched by the flames, the Flame Master collapses to his knees. Kizaragi declares, "You lose." "How could I lose to a nobody?" Tadu groans. "A promise, ... as a promise," before collapsing. A few days after the duel, with some help from the OG DJ director, Tsukasa and his partner officially formed their own guild. Hashi calls him over. "Let's go to a dungeon," he asks, another beginner. "Rank 1? She replies, "Nope. We're trying an intermediate rank 1, the dwelling of the eliminated. It's the perfect start for our new journey." Kizaragi asks if she's serious, thinking, the recommended level is 25 or higher. It's full of nasty undead monsters. If we drop our guard for a second, we'll be wiped out. We have to be careful. Haoshi asks, "Why the long face?" "It's nothing," Tsukasa replies, summoning his wolf. "Just thinking, we need to be on high alert." The girl's eyes light up. He pets the wolf, saying, "We're counting on you." "He's so adorable." Haoshi gushes to Kizaragi, Can I hug him?" She hugs the wolf tightly. "I could never get tired of this fluffy feeling. This is pure happiness." Tsukasa thinks sorry about this. After relaxing for a bit, Hashi asks, "Can you tell me more about him?" He nods. "His name is Lofin, a familiar I summoned with a skill." The girl remarks, "What a useful skill. When and where did you copy it?" A goddess's voice echoes, "She's sharp for a human." She noticed my skill changed, the protagonist thinks. I need to distract her somehow. But Haoshi just smiles. "Hey, no need to force an answer. I know it's rude to pry about skills. I trust you and Lofin completely, so shall we?" "I'll handle the support," Tsukasa replies. Hashi says, "Then I'm in your care. Not that I need any protection, of course." They spot an undead soldier. "I'll break their formation," she says. "You can back me up." He asks, "Wouldn't it be better to play it safe?" The girl grins. "Don't worry. My sword is their worst nightmare. I'll show you what I mean." Hoshi charges the skeletons, her blade a blur as she eliminates them. Loki notes that the weapon she's wielding is a holy sword, capable of cutting through the undead like they're nothing. The protagonist says that even so, things will get dicey at this pace and calls his wolf to support his partner. He leaps in, kicking a skeleton away, and says she got too far ahead. She thanks him for the assist. Kizaragi adds that just defeating them isn't enough. He rips off one of their heads as a red aura flares. Looking at another, he says they don't know when to quit, and that's not a good sign. San asks what he's up to. Tsukasa says, "It seems his partner is in a bind, and he can't let him get exhausted, so he's jumping in." He asks if she intends to use her skill. She replies that she hates to disappoint him, but not this time. She used the sword and reveal a fraction of its power. She commands the holy sword to shine, unleashing a powerful light. The protagonist asks if that is the power of the holy sword. Hosen replies that all she did was let a little light escape from the holy sword. It's like a wave of light, and to defeat these things, that's more than enough. Then she asks if she could gather the magic stones, saying she'll stay back and keep watch with Lafune. She keeps petting the wolf. After a while, they arrive at a gate. The goddess complains that it took him long enough and she thought she would fade from boredom. The girl says they arrived with plenty of energy to spare and just need to take down the boss. Kisaragi asks how they should approach the fight. Hoshi replies she has an idea. They just need to wait and see, and she'll knock it down in a single strike. They enter the room and find several skeletons, with the boss seated on a throne. Loki says it's quite a spectacular sight. Tsukasa asks if he can hear her strategy now. She replies that she wiped them out with her skill and that's the whole plan. He asks if she's being serious. The girl answers she's completely serious because a prolonged fight with this boss is a bad idea. And its skill, Necromancer Creator, is even more troublesome than Summon Subordinate. Taking too long to defeat it will put them in a very difficult situation. Necromancer Creator, a skill that allows the user to freely create undead, is one of the most powerful among all summoning type skills. Hosen says her skill is fully charged and can cleanly eliminate all the minions as well as the boss. But it requires some time to charge, so I'll need your help. The protagonist responds that he understands and says he and Lufin will buy time. Telling her not to mess up, the girl asks who he thinks he is talking to and says she'll wrap this up without any issues. Kizaragi uses flames, incinerating the skeletons alongside the wolf. The goddess says that those low-level monsters were summoned with the boss's skill, and they will vanish after taking a certain amount of damage. She adds that in this world, simple is best. Tsukasa raises his sword and declares, "Let the thunder strike his enemies." He moves swiftly with the sword in hand. He's blocked by the boss's guards who push him away. Then the wolf rushes in with an attack, causing a large explosion. Mist shifts. The king watches with its terrifying eyes and emits an intense aura, summoning more skeletons and an even stronger presence. The protagonist asks if this is part of its skill. Loki assumes it opted for quality over quantity, adding that its brain isn't too bad for a corpse. He thinks this is no laughing matter. To say the least, this situation is extremely bad. Sun asks who the real enemy is they need to defeat and if it's this mere undead lord. He says he doesn't think so. Kisaragi holds his sword and says he can do this, so just watch. The goddess responds that she understands and that he can enjoy the show. Tsukasa looks on and thinks that recklessly using his skills here won't work. He moves his hand, blasting the boss's guards with fire. Loki says he condensed the flames before releasing them, and that was not bad at all. The protagonist thinks this must be a skill that manipulates flames. Some of them fall to the ground, and the remaining monsters begin to tremble. Kizaragi says their fear is their ruin. He calls for his partner. Hashi thanks him and begins to use her skills. Mirrored Image, Paradise, Champion's Banquet, and Inverted Earth. Tr na unji. It is said that if a skill's power can be influenced by the user's mental image, it takes time and leaves defenses open, but the difference in power may be worth the risk. Tsukasa is impressed and says it's incredible. The goddess says that single word sums it all up. He says this is the power of the number one in the awakened generation. The girl replies that the mission was completed, and it was a breeze thanks to him. Loki says all he did was buy her time. Hashi says they should return because she'd rather not stay any longer. Sun says he should stay sharp because it seems the fight isn't over just yet. The protagonist is startled, then looks back and his eyes widen upon seeing a giant skeleton. An arched man? The girl asks why an advanced rank monster is here. The monster walks toward them. Hashi tells her partner to get over to her. Kizaragi notices she's holding a teleportation stone, an item that can instantly warp them to the dungeon gate in an emergency. He rushes toward her, thinking the valuable item is their only way out. As they're about to enter, she tries to use it but realizes it's not working. She panics. A smirk appears from the shadows as they watch the monster approach. Tsukasa draws his sword. Looks like we have to fight. Hoshi nods in agreement. The protagonist wonders if this is his goddess's doing. Loki scoffs. How cruel do you think she is? Even as a mentor, I'd never pull a nasty surprise like this. But someone did this on purpose. They've got some nerves. He wonders if they'll have to find a way to beat this thing on their own. Seems like it, she replies, then asks if he's okay. Kizaragi says he is, but something is on his mind. She remarks that being distracted at a time like this shows a certain calm. I wish that were the case, he says as the monster closes in. Tsukasa asks, how long until you can use your skill again? 5 minutes, Hoshi replies. He tells her to stay back until the skill is ready. No, she interrupts, we fight together. Have you forgotten I have my own sword? We'll get out of this as a team. Don't be reckless. We need your skill to beat this thing, he warns, just as the monster strikes. The protagonist dodges. It's weaker than it looks. The beast is just toying with us. But when a cat corners a rat, even the rat will fight back. He attacks with his sword, and Luthen uses a skill to attack alongside him. The monster blocks with its hand as Kisaragi's flames score a direct hit. However, the beast is unfazed. The girl charges with her sword and lands a strike. I can do this. My sword can pierce it, she thinks. The monster swings at her, but she defends, scoffing. These little sparks are nothing. Look out, Tsukasa yells as the monster lunges forward. She blocks the blow, but the force sends her flying. Hoshi coughs, struggling to her feet. I'm fine. I've made some distance. The girl grips her sword, unleashing her skills. Aurora? Golden Scales, undefeated god of war? Holy sword! She releases them all, focusing intently as she launches a flurry of strikes. She calls out to her partner. The protagonist strikes with his sword, followed by Luthen. The combined assault causes a massive explosion. They watch the aftermath. That was perfect. We couldn't have done better. But the monster is still standing, heavily wounded. They can't believe it. It didn't work? Loki explains, your attacks had an effect, but it just healed. All advanced strength bosses have regeneration skills. Kisaragi asks how to defeat it. She replies, it's simple. Deal continuous damage until its healing can't keep up, or finish it in one powerful strike. He wonders if a single strike would be impossible, even with his partner's skill. But they need time before it's ready again. He thinks, I have a request. Goddess, please undo the seal of celestial authority. What are you talking about? A voice asks. The effects of that little wordplay I used on you wore off long ago. Then I have an idea, Tsukasa says with a smirk. Meanwhile, the monster unleashes its power, and they watch in horror. The beast leaps, shaking the ground on impact. The monster smiles as the smoke clears. A little too eager, aren't you? The protagonist says, activating celestial authority. The real fight starts now. He watches his enemy. Hoshi wonders what skill this is. Kisaragi says, the second I give the signal, use your skill. We have to make it count. Wreathed in the power of celestial authority, he charges forward with his sword and attacks. But the creature blocks with a smile. A cornered rat bites back, Tsukasa says, pressing the attack. He activates Master of Flames, engulfing his blade in fire. The monster counters, its own power clashing with the inferno, just as I'd expect from an advanced rank enemy. The protagonist thinks, even with celestial authority active, simply launching skills isn't enough. He closes the distance, readying his next attack. The beast opens its mouth, forming a circle of energy. Kisaragi narrowly dodges and counters with his sword. The goddess reminds him, you're on a timer. Your body can't handle another use. You must finish this in 1 minute. Then a voice commands, don't move. Tsukasa activates wordplay and sees the creature is frozen in place. He combines lightning with his flames, causing a massive explosion that burns his enemy. I have to keep the pressure on, he thinks. It won't run until it's been hit, he says. The monster, crouched on the ground, looks around in confusion. Unharmed, the protagonist calls out, over here. As his enemy looks up, he strikes with his sword. He's succeeding, Hoshi realizes. It's not over yet, Kisaragi thinks. I need more damage to make sure it falls. The beast roars, unleashing its black lightning. This is it, Tsukasa thinks, telling his partner to use her skill now. She hesitates, but he cuts her off. Just do it. Trust me. Don't blame me if this stings. She warns, unleashing her power. The protagonist channels it into his sword, striking with incredible force. Did we get it? Hashi asks. Are you okay? The smoke begins to clear. Its eyes snap open. The monster rises, letting out a deafening roar. Still not enough. The girl cries in disbelief as the beast shrieks. Kisaragi smirks. Let's play. Chains of light bind the enemy. A system notification. Chimes, skill. Tirnug successfully copied. He unleashes the Copid skill. Her power is great against a crowd, ... Double quotes, ... But against one opponent, it's too scattered. I need to focus its power on a single point. He attacks with Tir Nanog, concentrating the blast into a massive, focused explosion. Hashi is stunned. He didn't just copy my skill, he reformatted it for a single target. The beast disintegrates. Tsukasa gazes at the crystal left behind. You had me worried for a second, Loki says, but you handled it well. He just nods. Yeah, I can't believe it. You actually defeated an arched man, the girl says, breathless. You saved us. The protagonist shrugs. I'm just glad it worked out. If that last attack had failed, we would have been goners. Hoshi thinks, with him. I feel like I can finally have the real adventure I've always wanted. Meanwhile, back at the OG DJ office, the receptionist smiles. Congratulations on clearing the dungeon. Your clearance reward has been sent. Could you please confirm the transfer? System. 1,500 OG DJ received for dungeon clearance. Loki cheers, time for some good eats. Kisaragi sees he's leveled up a ton. Are you sure you don't want to report the arched man? It's fine. They never believe me anyway, his partner says. Now about your real skill. Spill it. Tsukasa flinches. I guess I can't hide it from her anymore. Everyone calls you a failure, incompetent ... So how have you been fighting all this time? She asks. He sighs. Meet me on the roof after school tomorrow. I'll tell you everything. Elsewhere, in another dungeon, a massive explosion erupts. The Master of Flames seethes with rage. Suddenly, a voice echoes, my. Did something interesting happen here? Who's there? Cake snaps. Looking for a fight? I'll obliterate you. A woman emerges from the shadows. Such harsh words for someone so weak. I like that vigor, she purrs. He glares. What did you just call me? Enraged, Kyun unleashes a torrent of fire. The woman blocks it with a flick of her wrist. The Master of Flames stares in shock. Your flames are so lukewarm they could barely start a campfire, she says. But there is potential. Do you desire power? Get to the point, Kate growls. I can grant you the power you seek, she replies smoothly. Power to shake the very heavens and earth. Power to fulfill your every desire. Can I really become stronger? He asks, hesitant. Yes, the woman whispers. Stronger than any of them. Don't worry. Just entrust your body to me. The next day on the school rooftop. So, what did you want to tell me? Hoshi asks. Are you really going to tell her? The goddess inquires. He takes a breath. I can trust her, he thinks. After all, I'm the one who asked her to come. He begins, it all started when I threw myself into that trap in the bonus room. Whoa, that's a heck of a place to start, she says. The protagonist continues. That trap sent me straight into a mythical rank dungeon. But I met someone there, he says. She granted me a new power. It's the only reason I survived. A mythical rank dungeon, the girl exclaims. That's the highest rank. No one's ever cleared one. What kind of power did you get? Kisaragi shows her his card. I figured you'd say that. It's faster if you just see for yourself. How she stares at the card. What does this mean? Your ability is supposed to be imitate. How did it become copycat? I've never heard of an ability changing, she says. That would be the power I granted him, the goddess chimes in, introducing herself. The girl looks completely baffled. Relax, Loki says with a grin. I may be a goddess, ... but I'm no NMVA goddess, Hashi repeats. Sun explains, just as the name implies, mythical rank dungeons are the domains of gods. Her eyes widen as the goddess continues. And I am the ruler of the mythical rank dungeon. Trickstar? It gets dreadfully boring in there, you know? So in exchange for power, this kid shows me the outside world. And that's why my skill evolved. Tsukasa finishes. But the girl shakes her head. No, the real source of your strength is something else. Even when you faced total despair, even after being betrayed, ... You never lost your will to fight, she says. What is it that drives you? The protagonist explains that he fights to save his younger sister from her curse. How she doesn't quite understand the curse, so the goddess explains that another god, one with a terrible personality is responsible for it. Kisaragi declares that's why he must keep fighting until he finds that god. The girl thinks that fighting for family is a strong motivation, which is why she can fully trust him. She vows to help him on his journey to defeat this god, adding that she promised her grandfather as a child she'd one day clear a mythy-cranked dungeon to fulfill the dream he never could. She asks if he's forgotten that they started a guild, just the two of them, to find this god and defeat him together. Tsukasa looks surprised and thanks her. How she tells him he's being too formal and playfully says she'll start calling him by his full name too. The protagonist extends his hand to her, saying he won't call her by her full name anymore either. The girl says she'll be in his care, but is interrupted when Mayu appears, surprised, calling out to her brother and asking who this girl is. Ren introduces herself, explaining she and his brother started a guild and she hopes they get along. Kisaragi then asks if his sister is feeling unwell. Mayu says no, she's just shocked her brother brought home such a beautiful girl, asking what's going on and admitting she never expected this day to come so soon. He tells her to calm down, clarifying that she's just his partner, not his girlfriend. The little girl starts coughing. Tsukasa grows worried. How she notes that it's the curse, but Mayu insists she just got a little too excited. Her brother tells her not to speak and that he's taking her to her room to rest. His sister insists she's fine and will feel better soon. He says he needs to start dinner, but Hoshi tells him to just take his sister to her room. She'll make dinner, she says, telling him not to worry. She cooks something delicious that will have Mayu feeling better in no time. She insists on helping and asks what he's implying, wondering if he's saying he doesn't want to eat her homemade food. He replies that he'd love to try her food. His sister teases him, and they all laugh. The protagonist thinks he needs to get stronger, fast. Several days later, he notices Kai is absent again and wonders what he's been up to. The girl approaches, offering him a bento she made and inviting him to have lunch together. Classmates stare. Kisaragi thanks her and suggests they try to be less conspicuous. But he's interrupted by another boy who recognizes him. Tsukasa asks who they are. A boy with glasses informs him he's coming with them and has no right to refuse. Later, in another room, a man apologizes for the sudden summons. The protagonist recognizes him as Key's father, the director who approved the creation of their guild. Renaro says he understands how he must feel but insists there's no need to be on guard. He explains he wanted to ask about the whereabouts of his son, who has been missing for several days. Kisaragi realizes that's why Key's been absent and asks if the director thinks he's involved in the disappearance. The director replies that he heard his son treated him horribly, so it was natural for him to be a suspect, but that he defeated him in a fair duel. With that, he says any connection between them should have been severed, and that should have been the end of it. As for the dungeon, Kai was last seen entering it, but there are no records of his card being used there. For that reason, he has already been cleared as a suspect. Tsukasa asks why he was brought here then and why they aren't just searching for him. Renaro explains they've already sent a search party and the last dungeon his son entered was. How she enters, finishing his sentence, the intermediate level dungeon, the infernal jaw. The protagonist is surprised to see her and asks what she's doing here. The girl explains that even though his name isn't in the logs, the director wanted her to see something. An employee specifies it's a video recording from the previous day. The goddess watches the footage attentively. Renaro says there's an eyewitness report in addition to this footage. Yet still no card entry record. Kisaragi asks if that's even possible. The director says it shouldn't be, but it happened. Hashi asks about the search team and if they found anything. An employee begins to answer, but Renaro interrupts, stating the team was completely defeated. The two students are shocked. The director adds that a second team is still searching and asks Tsukasa, as the last person who fought his son, if he noticed anything strange then. He replies that he didn't notice anything out of the ordinary. Loki chimes in, warning that they're about to get into more trouble than they can imagine. He wonders if she knows something. She responds that she could sense it from the brat in the footage. He asks, "Sense what?" The goddess replies, "The presence of a god. The same one who cursed your sister?" The protagonist's eyes widened as he quickly stands up, confused. Loki says it was brief, but unmistakable. And that was the presence of another god, just like her. Kisaragi closes his eyes, a sense of understanding dawning on him, and asks to join the search effort. Renaro asks what he said. The employee objects, explaining the whole search team was wiped out, and they were all level 30 or above. If a rookie like him joined, it would only get him taken out, and he can't allow that. Tsukasa watches, irritated. Hisho says he'll go too. The director objects. They report finding an arched man inside the dwelling of the inhabitants, an intermediate-level dungeon, and the one who defeated it was the protagonist. Renaro asks if he really defeated an advanced rank boss. The employees is in utter disbelief. The receptionist confirms that after evaluating the magic stone they brought back, it was from an arched man. The director, surprised a student managed this, permits them both to join the search. The employee asks if he's lost his mind. Renaro says they can never have too many capable hands. Even if they are students, he admits shamefully, it might save his son. The two students agree, stating they understand and will head to the dungeon immediately. Elsewhere, as the two walk, Ren asks if he could give a proper explanation. Kisaragi explains that Goddess told him the same god who cursed his sister might be involved. Hisho asks if this is true. He replies that he isn't sure, but if it is, the second search team has already been wiped out. The girl says all they can do is hope that that's not the case and hurry before it's too late. Meanwhile, inside the dungeon, many have been taken out. The guards ask what in the world is going on, as this was supposed to be a search and rescue. Not whatever this has become. A hooded figure watches. A guard activates his skill and lunges at him. The hooded man flicks his hand, conjuring flames. "Is that all you've got?" He scoffs, telling them to get out of his sight as a wall of fire erupts. The goddess approaches, saying his flame burns quite hot now, and tells him to unleash all the hatred inside him. Elsewhere in the dungeon, Loki notes the intense heat. The Infernal Jaw is an intermediate-level dungeon, nearly advanced, with a huge spike in monster difficulty. The protagonist says it's going to get even hotter ahead, thinking that San can feel the heat even without being manifested. The girl says she understands how he must be feeling, but they must proceed with caution and stay on high alert. Kisaragi replies, "I know, but if we don't hurry..." She interrupts him, "You need to calm down. This dungeon is tougher than the dwelling of the inhabitants. If he loses his cool, he'll be eliminated in an instant." Suddenly, they encounter a giant beast with dark eyes and a sharp tongue. "A lizard man," Ren says. "Be bold, but careful." He thanks her and declares he'll go all out from the start. He charges, his sword a blur as he tries to strike the beast. The enemy deftly dodges. Then, Hisho grips his sword and slashes the monster's belly. Next, Tsukasa uses his fire skill, causing an explosion and finishing the beast. He remarks that he can see why this dungeon is considered near advanced level as more monsters approach. The girl moves toward the beasts. The protagonist uses his wordplay skill, stopping the opponents in their tracks. The monsters freeze instantly. Ren seizes the chance to attack a panther, while Kisaragi uses a skill on a lizard. He watches intently, pressing the attack. They continue on until they reach the mini-boss room. The creatures are strong, hard to handle, and they can fly. Tsukasa unleashes his Thunderstrike skill. As lightning crackles, he observes. Loki mentions they might be a lesser species, but they're still wyverns. A mere shock won't be enough to bring them down. They clash with the beasts. Hisho remarks that they're using actual tactics even if they are just monsters. The protagonist tells everyone to lure them to the grass. He then activates a skill, causing them all to plummet to the ground. He attacks them with flames while the girl strikes with her sword. The monster shoves her away and Lofen charges in. With sword in hand, Kisaragi strikes down his opponent. He glances aside just in time to see another enemy lunging at him. He spins and blocks. Ren shouts, "There's no end to them! We won't last at this rate!" Tsukasa leaps at the beast, delivering a single, decisive blow. Hoshi watches nearby as more monsters appear. The protagonist uses his flames to halt their advance. Loki warns that it won't do anything to fire-resistant enemies. He replies if it's just fire, then, activating Thunderbolt, he commands thunder pierce through them. The girl wonders if he stacked one skill on top of another, thinking it must be thanks to his unique skill that he can do this. Kisaragi uses his skill to face the judgment of the stars. Ren thinks it's such an immense power and wonders if she could ever do something like that. After taking down the beast, they decide to press on, breaking into a run. Hoshi says they're almost at the boss room and wonders where the search team could be. Tsukasa tells everyone to be careful, saying he has a bad feeling about this. Lufin dashes forward, barking at a survivor. The two students rush over and sees he's still breathing, but they quickly realize someone else is with him. They look up as the survivor explains he's the only one who attacked us. Tsukasa looks shocked, recognizing the attacker. "Cake, is that really you?" he asks. The aura surrounding him is completely different. Kisaragi says, "It's good you're in one piece. Everyone's been worried. I know you have questions, but we need to get out of this dungeon first." The Master of Flames smiles as a beast approaches, letting out a deafening roar. The two students look up, startled. Someone's making a move. "Wait," Kisaragi yells, "where are you going?" He then realizes the figure is disappearing. "A voice," Loki says, "it's coming." The beast draws near and is met with a sword strike. What's going on here? Sometime later, the beast in the dungeon was finally defeated. Tsukasa is lost in thought. Ren asks him, "Are you okay?" Kisaragi replies that he is, then asks about the search team. She replies, "They're unconscious, but they're alive. The biggest problem is that guy we just saw," Ren adds. Kisaragi thinks there's no mistake, that was him. But where did he go? Loki explains he's in the boss room. What you saw was just an after image. His real body has been there the whole time. He's still alive, so there's no need to worry, Loki continues. Tsukasa clutches his head, saying, "I have no idea what's going on." Ren asks him what's wrong. He replies, "According to Sun, Cake is in the boss room. What should we do?" Hoshi considers that Cake's level must be lower than the members of the search team he took down. Fighting him and the boss at the same time would be too dangerous. Kisaragi says, "We're going to the boss room. You should go back and call for reinforcements." Ren tells him to wait, arguing it's too dangerous no matter how you look at it. "I know," Kisaragi agrees, "but even so, we can't waste this opportunity." Remembering his sick sister, Ren says, "I understand. In that case, I'm going with you. I won't let you go in there alone." He asks, "What about the search team members? And the reinforcements?" A voice cuts in, "I can call for reinforcements. It's the survivor. Don't worry about us. Just focus on the enemy ahead." Hoshi hands the survivor a teleportation item. "Are you sure about this?" he asks. "These are special circumstances." "Don't worry, it's a spare," she replies. The guard looks at the item and says thank you. "I'm in your debt." He teleports away. Tsukasa then asks Hoshi, "Did you really have to lie about it being a spare? He wouldn't have accepted it otherwise." "Don't worry about it," she replies, then asks, "Ready to go?" He answers, "Yeah." They open the gate and come face to face with a salamander and Cake. Kisaragi says, "Take off your hood." The Master of Flames just smiles and removes it. "You're like a completely different person," Kisaragi says. Loki warns, "Don't lower your guard. This won't be as quick as your duel." Kisaragi thinks, "I know. If it comes down to it, I won't hold back." Ren asks how they should approach this. He replies, "I'll take the boss. I'm leaving Cake to you and Lofin." She nods. "Got it. I'll finish this quickly and come back to help you." Tsukasa warns, "Don't lower your guard. This isn't the Cake we know." Ren mutters, "This guy's a real pain." Tsukasa replies, "Couldn't agree more." The beast lunges forward. Kisaragi doesn't retreat, meeting it head-on as their attacks clash with a massive impact. As the battles begin, Hashi calls out to Cake just to be sure. Is there any chance you'll come back with us quietly? Cake responds by activating his flame ability. Hashi sighs, I'll take that as a no. In that case, I won't hold back. I'll crush you with all my strength and we can talk afterward. Cake attacks with his flames, but they dodge and Luffy charges in. Ren follows up, striking him with her sword. It's not over yet, she declares. The Master of Flames just smiles, unleashing an intense aura and a gale of wind. But just as he's about to attack, flames shoot toward Cake from another direction. Ren looks over and sees it's Kizaragi. Did you already defeat the boss? She asks. No, he replies. I'm far from it. The beast unleashes another deafening roar. Sun's voice says, It seems my intuition was right. Get ready. That power... It's the same unstable energy that cursed his sister. Kizaragi wonders if this is just another one of her jokes. It's not, she replies firmly. Defeat the enemy in front of you with everything you've got. Don't think about the consequences, or you'll be wiped out. Model. Tsukasa replies that he'll give it everything he's got. Ren asks for their strategy, suggesting they focus on both targets. The MC agrees, noting it's too risky to divide their power right now. The girl asks him what he means. He reveals that this dark aura is the same energy that afflicted his sister, meaning they've been fighting a god's minions. Kizaragi agrees, saying that's exactly why he won't hold back. They're going to blow it away with everything they have. She understands and promises to take it seriously, activating her ability. Mirror Image Paradise. Feast of Champions and Land of the Eternally Young. Maximum output, Tir Na Nog causing a massive explosion. Tsukasa tells Luffy they're next, but the Flame Master interrupts, laughing as he strikes. Tsukasa blocks and, as Luffy moves toward the enemy, Cake intercepts him. The MC yells at him to get clear and unleashes his ability, Thunderbolt, sending his opponent flying. He glances over to his partner, who is using the Sacred Sword's release to strike the beast. She tells him to leave it to her, boasting she finished the boss in one strike. Just as Toto intercepts her, the two students look on, surprised. Ren blocks his attack, but the Flame Master presses on, activating his ability and unleashing a flurry of blows. She tries to defend, but is ultimately overwhelmed and takes a hit. He laughs, telling her to burn. A flash of light erupts into an explosion. Kizaragi watches in horror, seeing his partner badly hurt. She apologizes, admitting she let her guard down. He rushes to her side, asking if she's okay. She says yes, but that she can't fight anymore. Tsukasa tells her to rest and leave everything to him. He orders Luffy to watch over her, saying 1 minute is all he needs. He unleashes an immensely powerful aura, declaring, "Here I go." He charges toward the beast, wondering how long he can maintain this power. The MC uses his wordplay skill, commanding his target not to move, while simultaneously striking Cake and sending him flying. The Flame Master begins his assault. Kizaragi retaliates, causing an explosion. As they close in and trade blows, he suddenly senses an attack from behind. Tsukasa then activates his Thundering Blade ability, accompanied by the thunder's roar. His opponent looks terrified right before the blow lands. The MC thinks that with his opponent acting strangely, this is his chance. He uses his wordplay skill again, commanding his opponent to sleep. And Cake collapses to the ground. The beast lets out a roar, and Kizaragi realizes that only 45 seconds remain on his celestial authority. It's time to go all out. He closes in on his opponent, unleashing a barrage of attacks, then readies himself to use his Tir Na Nog ability. He lunges with his sword and lands a critical hit, but his blade shatters as the monster continues to roar. Tsukasa raises his hand, declaring, "This ends now." Suddenly, he notices something is wrong just as he's violently thrown back. He struggles to his feet, realizing his celestial authority has ended and his weapon is gone. He thinks it's all over, until a voice says, "I'll help you, just this once." He looks to the side and sees him. Sun Loki activates his ability, offering a weapon and calling it his ace in the hole. The MC watches in stunned silence. He takes the sword and thanks him, saying now he can keep fighting. The blade is enveloped in a fiercely intense aura. Lying on the ground, Ren senses a power that rivals, or perhaps even surpasses, her own sacred sword. Sun calls it the mythical flame that consumes all creation, the ship's path, and tells him to show the enemy a fire that can turn even gods to ash. Kisaragi acknowledges and says he's on it. He charges the beast and attacks, sending a spray of dark energy flying as he carves off a chunk of the monster. Still wielding the powerful sword, he spots the enemy's tail and severs it as well. The beast shrieks in agony. Tsukasa remarks, "This blade is really something else." Loki laughs, of course. "It's my weapon of choice." The monster opens its maw, unleashing a torrent of intense flames. The nymph counters with his own attack, emitting a light that makes his flames burn even hotter and grow larger, causing another huge explosion. Hisho gasps that it's amazing. Sund remarks that he only managed to draw out a third of Levatine's true power, and that he still has a long way to go. The beast continues to scream. Kisaragi leaps and roars at the beast, unleashing an overwhelmingly strong and intense flame, which causes a colossal explosion, devastating the area and finally taking down the boss. The girl watches, whispering that he really did it. Cake, safe and sound, thinks that settles it. But Loki remarks that if he struggled against a monster of this level, then taking down a god is just a pipe dream. Tsukasa says he only won because of her help. She replies that he'd better not slack off on his training, since she can't always be there to bail him out. Their banter is cut short as they look up, surprised and alarmed by an approaching figure. The MC demands, "Who's there?" The goddess doesn't answer him, saying she can't believe she's siding with a human and is speechless at how far Loki has fallen. Loki says she's as crafty as ever. Kisaragi's surprised, thinking this woman is a monster in human form. Tsukasa asks if that was the one who, but he is interrupted. Vixen tells him to shut up, asking who gave him permission to speak as she unleashes massive mana. Loki claps, telling her not to be so childish. Vixen transforms into her true form and asks if he'd like a fight to the end between two gods. The mess asks, "What is that form?" Vixen says she's grown quite a bit compared to that disgusting appearance from before. She replies that the room is full of mana, but she's still far from reaching her full power. However, this form is more than enough to eliminate her. The goddess finds this hilarious and asks if she plans to fight while dragging around two burdens. She's tired of the insults and tells her to prepare to be eliminated. Kisaragi asks if she was the one who cursed his sister. Loki replies that her name is Tamamo no Mae, and she is the mistress of the mythical rank Dungeon 9 Tales of Beauty, as well as the culprit who pulled the strings behind this incident, and the god who cursed his precious sister. Tsukasa grabs his sword and says he understands now. She's the one who hurt his sister. Loki says that in his current state, he has no hope of winning against her. The MC says nothing and heads toward the goddess with his skill. He observes her and attacks, but she blocks it, saying his attack is completely powerless. She throws him away and touches him, causing heavy impacts. They become worried. Kisaragi, persistent, uses his flame skill and attacks again. Vixen asks if that's the flame of the almighty skill, saying that in the end, it was just for show. She uses her power, turning the flames back toward him and causing an explosion. The girl realizes she reflected the ability. The goddess says it's nearly impossible for a human skill to bypass her defense. Tsukasa gets up, and she asks if he can still stand, noting that his spirit is commendable. However, it won't be enough to defeat her with spirit alone. The MC watches as the goddess says she now recognizes the adventurer she eliminated back then. He belongs to him, and that's why humans are so interesting. He asks what she's talking about. Vixen replies that if he wants to know, he'll have to defeat her. Kisaragi runs toward her, furious. She uses her skill and attacks him again, causing a massive impact. Tsukasa coughs from the impact, and the goddess says he's softer than cotton candy. She cursed him just like she did his sister, and then she will watch how both of them suffer in agony. She begins channeling intense mana toward him. Ren pushes him and steps in front, falling to the ground. The MC runs to her as the system announces she was afflicted with a curse by the skilled dark arts. It must be removed immediately, or the skill user must be defeated. Vixen says it's a beautiful display of friendship, asking if maybe it's love. She adds that either way, it's just annoying. He tells her to shut up. The goddess remarks on his lovely ferocity and asks why he isn't angrier. Yet, because that woman will be eliminated if he doesn't hurry. Someone tells her to shut up and binds her with chains. It's Loki who restrained her, saying she plays around too much. She attacks, causing an explosion, and walks forward, saying the boy confused recklessness with courage and that she should let her handle this. The goddess approaches again and says, "Surprise attacks are for cowards. I imagine it suits a weakling like you." Loki replies that's rich coming from a coward who thinks she's cunning and only serves to hide in the shadows. The two start laughing, then get serious and begin fighting. They exchange several moves, trying to hit each other. Loki activates the chains. Vixen says she was always strange. Loki orders the boy and the girl to take the chance and escape. He says she was the one who hurt his sister. Loki asks if he can't see the difference in their strength, telling him he has no chance of winning. The goddess says she couldn't have said it better. She approaches and attacks. Loki says she's still as fast as ever, thinking that was a bit clumsy of her. Vixen says she got weaker and asks why she doesn't just finish her off. The goddess replies that it's a cheap provocation. Loki asks if she's already leaving. Vixen tells her to chase her, and if she does, she'd better be ready to be eliminated. The MC says to stop playing around because he won't let her go. Loki holds him, saying he can't defeat her in his current state. The goddess says that if he wants to remove the curse from his sister and friend, she invites him to the mythical ranked dungeon. She throws a card on the ground and says he doesn't have much time. Both will be eliminated if he takes too long. Kizaragi gets very angry and Loki holds him back. Tsukasa says it doesn't matter if he's eliminated trying. She then uses her ability to make him sleep, and the MC gradually calms down, stops talking, and closes his eyes. Loki says she should have eliminated them when she had the chance, and that she will make her regret it, calling her Tamamo no Mei. Elsewhere, Kizaragi jolts awake, sitting up. "Where am I? I was in a dungeon, ... Loki replies, "It's good to see you're finally awake." He furiously grabs her arm. "Why did you stop me?" She replies, "Because you would have been eliminated. I'm sorry to say this right after you've woken up, but there are two things you need to know. What do you want to hear first? The good news or the bad?" Meanwhile, in another hospital room, Ren lies with her eyes closed. Arriving at her side, Sun explains, "She was hit by Tamamo's curse protecting me." Tsukasa remembers. Loki adds, "Your sister's condition is unchanged. But if Tamamo was telling the truth, we don't have much time." He seethes, but she cuts him off. "Wait, I'm not finished. There were two things, and you still haven't heard the good news." The MC demands, "What good news?" Sans says, "There's a way to defeat that nine-tailed fox." He presses, "Tell me." Kizaragi says, "To do it, you'll have to abandon your humanity. Are you prepared for that?" Tsukasa answers, "You should already know. To defeat her, I'll do whatever it takes." Loki nods. "I understand your determination." She flicks a finger. A gate materializes. "Follow me," she commands. The MC asks, "Where are we going?" Sun explains, "To the majestic hall where only those chosen by the gods are allowed to enter. Valhalla. It will be your training ground. The celestial sanctuary. An empty realm." Kizaragi falls to his knees. The air, ... It's so heavy. She murmurs, "I'm worried about his future." A voice rings out, "You've returned." She replies, "It's been a while." Hildur says, "I'm relieved to see you in good health." Loki smiles, "I'm happy to see you're well too." Hildur gestures to the human, "And who is this?" She replies, "He's my partner, nothing more. I need you to train him, no matter what it takes, until he can defend himself. I'm leaving him in your care." Hildur asks, "What do you mean?" Sen replies, "Don't overthink it. Just consider it a fun break from your usual duties." Hildur smirks. "I understand. In that case, I gladly accept." The MC protests. "This isn't what you promised. Were you lying when you called this a training ground?" Loki answers calmly, "It's not a lie. This is certainly a place for training. But how much you gain from it is up to you. And if you want to save them, you need to train like your life depends on it. Otherwise, you'll never defeat the fox." Hildur asks, "You mean fighting a god?" She replies, "His sister and friend were hit by the fox's curse. Both will be eliminated unless he defeats it. Kisaragi declares I have to get stronger, for their sake and for my own. That's why I'm here." Hildur nods. "Understood. I won't just toy with you. I'll help you take down the Ninetails. My methods are rough, so try not to get eliminated." Sakasa says, "Bring it on." Sometime later in the Celestial Sanctuary, Hildur states, "Your training is simple. You must defeat me. That is your only task." The MC responds, "I understand." Hildur glances toward Loki, mentioning her marks. She sighs, "How tedious. Can't you just start? This is why I dislike dealing with warriors. Prepare yourselves. Begin." Their swords clash, ringing through the hall. Hilda scoffs, "Weak. Do you really think you can eliminate a god like that?" She strikes him, sending him flying. With her sword raised, she watches him fall. "Get up. We're just getting started." Kisaragi pushes himself up. "I'm okay, ... Lufin, lend me your strength." Hildur grins. "I'll train both of you then. Now, fight like you mean it." An image of his cursed friend and sister flashes in Sakasa's mind. "I don't have time for this." "I will defeat you." They trade a flurry of blows, their impacts shaking the ground. Then, Lufin charges toward them. "Good teamwork," Hildur notes. She blocks the attack, but not good enough. The MC unleashes his flame ability. Hildur pivots, deflecting the flames. When she looks, the boy is already at her side, striking. Hildur's hand morphs into a weapon as she swings to intercept him. Kisaragi grunts, "I couldn't break through." His opponent taunts, "Is that all? At this rate, you'll never defeat a god." Loki watches from afar, thinking, at least this can be called a fight. He has grown, but it's time to stop. She claps her hands. "Lower your sword. That's all for today." Later, they sit around a table, sharing a meal. "I have a question," Segkaya says. She quips, "No, you can't have the meat." He asks, "Should we really be having a peaceful meal like this? Shouldn't we be training?" Hildur arrives with more dishes. "Don't be in such a hurry. Eat and rest well. Taking a break is a form of training." He argues, "I don't have time for that." Sun reassures him, "Relax. You have all the time in the world. 1 year in this training field is the same as a single day in your reality." The Mick chides her for revealing something so important so casually, saying she should have told him that first. Hildur retorts that instead of complaining, he should get busy preparing for tomorrow's training. Kisaragi sighs. Loki watches him, remarking what a troublesome man he is. Elsewhere, she asked what the warrior thought of the boy. The warrior replied that the boy doesn't know his place. Many humans before him tried to defeat a god, and adventurers are just fools challenging deities for their own desires. That's what she had always thought. However, this boy is different. He would risk everything to face a god for someone else's sake. She admits she doesn't dislike humans like that and asks if the other feels the same. He agrees, adding that the boy certainly cured his boredom. 3 years pass. Hildur asks Kisaragi if he remembers their score. He confirms 999 battles, 0 victories. He spent 3 years here and lost every single time. He collapses, and the warrior declares this their final battle. If he still can't defeat her after 1,000 tries, then he's incapable of stopping the fox. She permits him to use his celestial authority and tells him to come at her with everything he's got. The Mick grips his sword, activates the Celestial Authority skill, and declares, "Here I go." He attacks, landing a flurry of strikes. Hildur tells him it's still not enough and to take this seriously. Kisaragi agrees, saying he's just getting started. He activates Vaughn's ability to attack. The warrior counters with pseudo-dino armament, unleashing a massive surge of mana. However, he seems confused. Tsukasa attacks his opponent again and calls for Lufin. The wolf strikes with great impact, Hildur observes as the attacks connect. The warrior's armor shatters and she says he did a good job, calling it a marvelous strike full of conviction. With that kind of power, she says, he'll be able to face a god. The MC just watches in silence. Hildur admits her defeat, saying he has grown incredibly strong in just 3 short years. Kisaragi thanks her, saying he only managed it because of her guidance. Loki approaches, clapping. She says it's just as she expected from the man she saw promise in, teasing him about being captivated by the warrior at first sight. Tsukasa denies being captivated, claiming he was just surprised, since it was his first time seeing her face, adding that her beauty is second only to Loki's. Sun says he can see why he fell for her and tells Hildur she should take off her armor more often. She answers that she must always be ready for combat, so it's only natural to wear it all the time. Otherwise, she couldn't proudly serve as a knight. She then declares it's time to hunt the fox. Sun tells the warrior to just accept it. Kisaragi doesn't understand, but Hildur tells him and Lufin to come closer. She touches his head, saying this is her gift and she hopes he will accept it. A system notification announces the activation of the skill copy and Herjar abilities, which will allow him to transcend human limits. Next, she touches Lufin, warning that the gift will overload his body the longer it's active, so he must use it wisely. She also gives him an item to use when his master is in danger. Lufin grows excited. Sun asks Hildur if she remembers him asking if Kisaragi was ready to give up the ability, stating that this was the answer. The MC says both their names and thanks them, telling them that because of their help, he's finally ready to fight. Loki watches as Hildur remarks that Kisaragi found a good partner. Loki replies that he's a man Hildur can be proud of. Hildur then asks if it's time to confront the fox. Kisaragi says no. Before that, he wants to see his sister and his friend, because this might be the last time. Later at the hospital, he apologizes to his partner, vowing to take down the fox even if it costs him everything. Just then, his sister arrives, asking what he was doing. This time, she says she heard they were both hospitalized and was so worried. Then asks if he's gotten a bit taller. Tsukasa jokes that he's just older. Then more seriously, he says there's something he needs to tell her. A little later, Mayu asks if he's going to the mythical level dungeon because of her illness, and for his friends. The MC confirms it. He says it's his fault his partner collapsed, and that he has to go to cure her. Illness, he has no other choice. His sister takes his hand. She says she won't try to stop him, but asks him to promise he'll come back no matter what. Kisaragi sighs. He reminds her he promised he would never leave her alone. He vows to defeat that god and return, telling her to believe in him and wait. He opens the letter and a glowing circle materializes. Loki asks if he's suggesting they should enter. Tsukasa grins, asking if it isn't great, and declares he's going to challenge her right there. Mayu tells him to be careful. He looks back at her and smiles, then steps into the portal. When they step through, the goddess is waiting. She notes that he showed up without running away and says she'll give him credit for that. The MC draws his sword. Cut the speeches. I'm here to eliminate you. Vixen smiles. Not summoning your wolf? Do you intend to fight me head-on? That's right, Kisaragi replies. I'll be the one to cut you down. The fox smirks. I hope you enjoy the pain, reckless as ever. A mere human should know his place. I won't make this quick, not until you beg for the suffering to end. Tsukasa adds, and here's a tip. No matter how much you cry and apologize, I will never forgive you. They stare each other down. The MC attacks with his flame ability. The goddess blocks it. All talk, aren't you? Have you abandoned your humanity? He retorts, I have to defeat a god. I'll do whatever it takes to send you flying. He then unleashes his flames on her. Insolent, Vixen thinks. She opens her fan. Know your place. She shouts, attacking. Kisaragi meets her attack, causing an explosion as smoke billows. Loki explains, Tamano's iron fan is the divine weapon Yata Miro. Its ability is to nullify and reflect skill-based attacks. Tsukasa thinks Tamano's own skills are powerful enough, but that weapon is the real problem. Lost in thought in the middle of a battle, the fox taunts. She attacks with her witchcraft skill, Dance of 1,000 Blade Petals, and says, now dance for me. The MC dodges the onslaught only to find her suddenly right in front of him. Did you think you could escape so easily? The goddess asks. An explosion erupts as the MC watches. Vixen says the petals of the Dance of 1,000 Blade Petals are fire blades created by my witchcraft. They will burn you. Mist swirls as they both clash once more. I thought that would last longer, Kisaragi says. Round 2 is about to begin. The goddess scoffs. You, annoying human, then attacks with her petal blades. The attacks are intense, but he manages to dodge them all. He's fast, Vixen thinks. I can barely touch him. She says aloud, a mere human should know his place. Tsukasa grips his sword and attacks, unleashing an intense aura. The goddess realizes her witchcraft was cut. Impossible, she thinks. He's just a human. The MC appears behind her. Daydreaming mid-battle? How relaxed of you. Vixen turns just in time to be hit. For a human, this power is ... excessive, which means there must be a disadvantage. A fundamental restriction, like a time limit. Kisaragi replies, you're right. That's why I'm giving up on being human. Suddenly, a huge aura erupts from his body. He activates the ability Walk Beside Gods and declares, I bet my life that I will eliminate you. Right here and now. He surpassed the selection of the gods? The goddess asks in disbelief. That's absurd. Loki replies, it's not absurd, it is what he desired to defeat you. Vixen fumes, this is a clear intervention on humanity's behalf. It is unacceptable. Sun asks, who said it's not allowed? Who decided that helping humanity was prohibited? And whether they are allowed to live or be eliminated is my decision. If anything opposes this, even a god, I will show no mercy and eliminate it. But I am not the one who will judge you, she says, approaching the boy. Show me your determination. The MC starts his attack. I will crush that resolution into pieces, the goddess declares. Meeting his charge. Kisaragi makes a hand gesture, emitting his ability, causing several attacks as he moves quickly toward her. He tries to land a strike, then follows up with his flame ability. Even with divine power, flames of this level are nothing, Vixen says. Tsukasa replies, then learn from experience. He attacks her with flames, then strikes with his sword, causing a huge explosion. The goddess is hit, her face severely damaged. You'll regret this, she seethes. She looks shocked as she is hit again. Vixen groans in pain on the ground. To dare trample on a god. Such insolence. I will never forgive you. Her mana begins to surge. The MC also prepares for an attack. They exchange intense blows for a while. The goddess becomes enraged and insults him. Kisaragi continues attacking and uses his skill Mirror Image Paradise, Winter's Feast in the ever-young Earth, causing a strong impact and an explosion. You realize it's still not over, right? Sun asks. Yes, he replies. Loki adds, don't let your guard down. Even a cornered rat can bite a cat. Vixen gets up, even more furious. To think a humble being like you forced me to fight seriously. Sun turns to the boy. She has finally shown her true form. A system notification appears. Activating skill. Auspicious celestial beast. The goddess declares, for the crime of mocking a god. Being erased 1,000 times would be too lenient. So this is her full power, Tsukasa asks. This must be her true form. Loki tells him to prepare. The final battle begins now. The fox attacks. Sword in hand, the MC counters with an intense skill. Vixen blocks, too slow. She strikes him, repeating, "You're far too slow." An explosion erupts. On the ground, Kisaragi mutters, "So this is the true power of a god." "Not going to let me win so easily," the goddess taunts. She attacks again, but he dodges. As he prepares the counter, she scoffs. "Don't you realize that attack won't work anymore?" She attacks again. Tsukasa tries to block but is knocked to the ground, breathing heavily. "You seem to be having a hard time," the fox sneers. "Even your divine presence is fading." "Are you blind?" the MC retorts. The real battle starts now. He unleashes a volley of flames, but she blasts through them, sending him flying. Vixen says, "You're like a candle in the wind, but I won't extinguish you just yet." Kisaragi summons his wolf. "Did you come running to help your master?" the goddess asks. "What can a humble creature like you possibly do?" Lovin paws the ground, a strong aura flaring around him as his kala shines intensely and expands. The fox realizes the god-devouring silver wolf. Lofen opens his enormous mouth and lunges at her. Tsukasa watches them exchange incredibly powerful blows. Vixen snarls, "A mere wolf shouldn't get ahead of itself." She attacks while Lufan dodges the blows. The MC wonders, is he really becoming Fenrir? Loki explains this is his true form. Compared to his original strength, this is still nothing. And the collar Hild gave him has a one-time reversal effect, allowing him his future adult form. The wolf bites his opponent. The fox shrieks in pain. Loki continues, "It's a forced transformation from an item, so it won't last long. The boy must deliver the final blow. He cannot miss this chance." "I know," Kisaragi responds. Luthen emits a powerful aura. Vixen growls in pain as the wolf presses its attack. "Cheap tricks," she screams, attacking with large impacts. Bathe in the never-ending flames of the divine curse. Lothen crouches, opens his mouth, and releases an enormous power. An explosion follows. The wolf, badly injured, collapses in a crimson pool. Tsukasa looks on, worried. "His body isn't keeping up with that power," Loki says. "A mere pup challenging me with borrowed strength," the goddess scoffs. "You're both fools." Furious, the MC charges, using his flame ability. "You're all so annoyingly persistent," the fox says. Kisaragi rushes to his companion. "Don't get up, just rest." Luthen looks up as his master says, "Let's fight together." They charge toward their opponent together, unleashing their skills. The same moves over and over. Vixen mocks. "This is my true fox magic. Burn away in endless petals." Tsukasa moves quickly and calls to his partner. They attack, causing massive explosions and impacts. The MC watches, thinking that if this continues, they single quote LOB overwhelmed. He wonders, should I release my skill at full power? At direct burn, but I can't even get close with that tail in the way. Enraged, the wolf dodges the attacks and bites her. "Thanks, nice one." Kisaragi praises, using his skills. Prophecy, divine catastrophe, heavenly fangs, maximum output, and pure black cut. A huge explosion erupts. He runs towards his companion but feels a sharp pain. "I can't deactivate my ability yet." Vixen rises. "You dare disrespect a god? I will never forgive you. Descend to the underworld." Tsukasa flashes behind her. She looks back. A sneak attack? "Didn't I already tell you?" the MC asks. "I'll be the one to cut you down." "How arrogant," the goddess says. "Even with divine power, you could never defeat me. You will be erased by the curse of the gods." Kisaragi extends his hand. "Stay still and burn in the flames of your own divine curse." The fox begins to scream. You'll be burned by your own curse, Sekasa says. He approaches her on the ground. Wait, she pleads. I'll remove the curse from the two girls. Just lower your sword. Don't be ridiculous, the MC scoffs. You tormented my sister, my only family. As if I'd ever listen to you. Vixen smiles. What if I told you about your parents' true elimination? Kisaragi freezes. What are you talking about? The goddess laughs. You really don't know that your parents were adventurers? An annoying pair, both to me and to themselves. How do you know that? Said Casa demands. She reveals she was the one who defeated them, casting a curse that could only be broken if they sacrificed their comrades, but they hesitated and so they suffered. Her greatest pleasure, she says, is watching the tragic and ridiculous drama of them apologizing as they betray their companions. And yet, when it came to his parents, they challenged her to protect their unborn child instead of offering a sacrifice. He asks if that was his sister's curse. The fox confirms it, saying she was cursed before she was even born, although, she admits, she never expected other children to exist. If they had just given up one, they wouldn't have been eliminated. She asks what else you could call that but foolishness. Kisaragi realizes his parents had lied. They knew his sister's illness was a curse all along. The vixen says watching them fight back was fun, yet annoying. He asks if that's why she got rid of them. The goddess scoffs, asking if a swarm of buzzing flies wouldn't be annoying. Sakasa speaks her name, vowing to eliminate her with his own hands. They lunge at each other. The fox asks if he's forgotten Loki's words, saying an injury of this level is nothing to her. The mess retorts that even if her wounds heal, her strength won't return. He leaps forward, attacking. The vixen counters, saying she doesn't need to hear it from a man who's already finished. Kisaragi reads her movements and strikes again with his flame ability, landing a clean hit. Reckless, the goddess says, using her ability to unleash several beasts. Sakasa fights them off and shouts for her to receive the judgment of the stars, unleashing his meteor shower ability on the sacred night. A huge explosion erupts. The MC sees the beast closing in on him before he's hit. The smoke clears. The goddess asks if he now understands the true power of her Shikigami. Kisaragi confirms that he does. He copies her ability and activates it. Outraged, she asks if a mere human dares imitate the power of a god. Sakasa replies that it's an eye for an eye, and he's ending this once and for all. It's about time, the fox says. I'm tired of your face. They glare at each other and charge. He uses his abilities, prophecy, divine calamity, and celestial law. The vixen rushes forward with her own power, declaring he will be eliminated. The MC thinks of the two cursed girls and vows to end everything with this next strike. He raises his flaming sword, unleashing his abilities. World Tree, Ruin of Branches, Maximum Yield, and Pure Black Divine Cuts. The goddess unleashes her 1,000 cherry blade blooming and storm ability. Their attacks collide with an extremely powerful impact. They continue to clash until the smoke begins to settle. It's over, Loki says. He responds, not yet. My opponent is still alive. He approaches her on the ground and asks if she's still regenerating. Loki assures him not to worry, that she'll disappear soon and the battle is over. The fox, on the verge of vanishing, can't believe she lost to a human. He demands she keep her promise and remove the curse from the two girls. The vixen murmurs that she did indeed make a promise. She raises her hand, saying that as promised, she will remove all the curses she placed, and that this victory is his. And it's a good thing it wasn't too late. Kisaragi watches her. The goddess warns that eliminating a god is something he might regret. And it's a pity she won't be there to see it. He simply replies, good. He'll do whatever it takes to protect those he cares about. Even if it's a god, he'll show no mercy. The fox laughs, wondering how long that will last and saying she watched with great interest until she finally disappears. Loki hugs him from behind and whispers that he's everything she expected from the man she put her faith in. Takasa thanks her. Loki tells him he did well and that he can rest now. He agrees, saying he's at his limit, then asks what's going on, seeing a fox he can't trust. Is this a goblin's grave? Was she using it as a hideout? What are you doing? The MC asks. She replies that the dungeon will collapse soon and they need to leave, adding that he pushed himself to the brink again. So, you need to heal your wounds. Then we'll go on another adventure together. Kizaragi is embarrassed as she holds him, his face buried in her chest. In another location, Tsukasa is lying down, realizing he's in a new place. A voice says he's finally awake. It's Loki. He murmurs that it's just like before. Remembering, he smiles. She taps his head and says he's grown a little. Kizaragi responds that it's all thanks to God's rigorous training. Loki says this god must be exceptional, referring to herself, just as two girls enter the room. Loki notes they were slow, just as the guy they cared for woke up. He looks a bit awkward while the two girls stare in surprise. Tsukasa apologizes for worrying them. Mayu rushes to hug him, saying she thought he'd never wake up. He apologizes for always making her worry and assures her he's fine now. His sister smiles. Ren welcomes him back, telling him he saved her again. She gazes at him and offers her thanks. Kizaragi apologizes, explaining that her life was at risk because of him. She replies that she would have felt the same in his place, and reminds him there's something he needs to check. Tsukasa asks his sister how she's feeling and if she's in any pain. Mayu replies she feels no pain and that this is the best she's ever felt. Smiling at her brother, she tells him she's incredibly happy. Loki agrees that's great. His sister thanks her as well, and they begin to chat among themselves. Hashi says it's time to get to the main topic and asks Mayu why she hasn't told her brother what she wants to do. The MC is curious. Mayu says she wants to become an adventurer so they can explore dungeons together. He replies that he understands, but reminds her she needs skills to enter a dungeon. Sun says that if it's about skills, he has nothing to worry about. Kizaragi asks what she means. She explains that his sister was exposed to Vixen's ability for a long time, and because of it, the fox's power seems to have imprinted on her, and she believes Vixen might have done something in her final moments. Ren adds that they ran some tests on her at the JMO, confirming his sister acquired an ability. She tells him not to look so worried, since his sister is free from the curse, and to let her do as she pleases. Tsukasa agrees. Nayu, hugging Sun, asks if he and the girl in his room are dating. He asks why she's suddenly bringing that up, insisting they're just friends. Hoshi agrees, adding that they don't have that kind of relationship ... yet. Mayu says that's a shame and that she'd be happy if they were. San jokes that if she wishes for it, she could become his older sister. The MC tells her to knock it off, declaring there's no chance of a pillow god joining their family. Ren asks what's gotten into him. Mayu calls it a classic move. Everyone laughs and Hoshi gets embarrassed. Loki dryly tells them to keep having fun in the JDMO conference room. Guildmaster Bonreisa Nadamasa, Koketsu's guildmaster, Mizukagami Shizuka, and the Kyoshiro guildmaster. Renaro thinks to himself that he never imagined this would happen. An employee states, "This concludes the report on the disappearance of the beginner-level dungeon, Goblin's Nest, last week." They begin to discuss the matter among themselves. It has been half a century since dungeons appeared in this world. The disappearance of one is completely unprecedented. And even if it's unprecedented, getting rid of a dangerous place is ultimately a good thing. Bonai adds that the boss revived instantly after being defeated. He asks if that isn't strange, but concludes that it's something to celebrate regardless. Saran says a threat to humanity is gone, which is a historic achievement. That is precisely why we must investigate, she insists. The director agrees it's unprecedented and that it's hard to know how to even conduct an investigation. Koketsu asks if any adventurers were inside the dungeon when it vanished. The employee confirms there were none. Soren remarks that's fortunate. If anyone had been caught inside, who knows what would have happened. Koketsu says that with no clues, there's no way to investigate. Banri says he wouldn't be so sure, as two individuals recently encountered dungeon anomalies. A sound catches the director's attention and he thinks this will be a tough one. He reports there's intel from the search team and orders them to put it on the monitor. Koketu asks if there's something wrong with the girl. The employee responds that these two individuals were inside an intermediate-level undead dungeon, where they found an advanced boss, the Ash Demon. Siren remarks that an Ash Demon in an intermediate dungeon is alarming. But as expected of a former Koketu member, defeating an Ash Demon shows she has a promising future. Banri corrects him, stating the one who defeated the Ash Demon was a boy named Kizaragi. Renaro agrees, thinking of the boy with a hint of sympathy. Koketu murmurs the name Kisaragi, saying they need to talk to him. Meanwhile, the MC walks down a flight of stairs and steps through a portal. He thinks to himself that this is his first time going into a dungeon alone. Remembering how they'd asked if he was sure, how she had said she didn't mind but wanted to know why. He had replied that he just wanted to test something and was leaving his sister with them. Back in the present, lightning flashes within the dungeon as several bats appear. Kizaragi draws his sword, preparing to begin his strength test. The beasts close in and he raises his sword to attack. But the monsters suddenly pull back and take to the air. Two bats charge with weapons, but Sakasa clenches his fist, unleashing a lightning strike that causes a massive explosion. The MC thinks this is more than enough of a reminder of his second chance. Defeating Vixen greatly boosted his level, and the ability he copied has evolved too. According to Loki, taking down a god makes this a natural outcome. But he didn't expect the power boost to be so intense. After defeating them, he grabs the cores and presses on until more bats appear, which he quickly clears out before reaching the boss room. When he opens the door, several beasts are lying in wait. Kizaragi thought he'd reach the final boss room, but it's just for a mid-boss. The monsters close in and he attacks, wondering if this is a test of his strength. Then a huge attack erupts among the bats. The beasts watch as Sakasa unleashes his flame ability, engulfing them. He braces himself, saying that choosing a high-rank dungeon was the right call. A mid-rank one would have been over instantly, and there's still something he wants to test. He observes the guards, drops into a crouch, and starts crackling with lightning. The guards ready their swords, glancing at each other. The MC holds his position, surrounded by arcing lightning as he powers up. He then activates it, detonating the dive flame with a huge impact. The core clatters to the floor. With one left, Kisaragi moves in, telling it not to go down so easily. The guard advances with its shield, but Sakasa dodges and slices it clean in two with his sword. He picks up the cores from the ground and realizes that his true boss room is underground. The MC heads down the stairs with a grin, continuing on and remarking that he never imagined the boss room would be underground. He wonders if the public information was a lie, but dismisses it, thinking that, according to the intel from JDMO, the boss room should have been on the top floor, and the boss should have been the arched man he already took down. But it doesn't matter what it is. He just has to defeat it. He opens the door and faces the boss, who is sitting atop a pile of fallen bats, and asks if he's the one in charge. Then a brilliant light erupts, growing stronger. The boss materializes in front of him and asks, "Are you the one who caused all this destruction?" Kisaragi knows he can't be careless, wondering how the boss can speak human language despite not being a god. He replies that he had to attack since it was hiding underground, and that he won't blame others. The boss charges with its weapon and strikes. Sakasa parries, asking if it's not going to use the sword it has drawn. The boss grabs his shirt and hurls him into the distance, carving a path of destruction. The Mick notes his opponent's incredible speed for such a large body. Lightning erupts from him, creating a powerful aura. The boss watches as Kisaragi closes in, sword in hand, and they begin to exchange blows. Realizing his adversary surpasses even Vixen in close combat, Flames wreathe his sword as he unleashes a flurry of moves. The boss is wounded and thinks that the human is strong. It watches him, wondering if the boy is even human, and if so, how many infernal battles he has survived. Sakasa, sword still in hand, presses the attack and asks his opponent if this is all he's got. He says that, at the very least, He doesn't feel like he's facing a high-rank dungeon boss. He's fought against gods stronger than this. The boss stares in shock before a heavy blow sends it flying. The mix channels his flame mana and tells his opponent to burn in the divine flames and be gone. But the boss blocks with immense force, thinking it never imagined a human with such power. It deflects the flames and closes in, asking for his identity. Kisaragi answers that he's just an ordinary human who took down a god. The boss says the flames from before weren't an ordinary human's power. They were the same as a god's. It disregards their difference in strength and asks to be finished. Tsukasa replies that he'd like to, but that it will become his pawn. The boss demands to know what he's doing as a large mana circle erupts with chains. The boss's body is bound by chains from all sides. The mess wonders if it worked, but the chain starts snapping as the boss's mana surges intensely. Kisaragi demands to know its identity. The boss replies that he is the one who will serve as shield and sword for his sovereign. Sometime later, in another place, the receptionist congratulates him for clearing the dungeon and gives him his reward. Tsukasa takes his card and checks the data, then looks at her and asks if there's anything else. The receptionist apologizes and tells him to be careful because something bad might happen. But she can't explain the details, only advising him to take care. After some time, the MC opens the door to his home, where his sister and partner are waiting. Hashi asks if everything went well. He agrees and asks what brings her here. Ren explains they are celebrating his sister's debut as an adventurer. Kisaragi glances over and asks why Loki is here. The goddess explains she worked hard on his sister's first dungeon and needs some words of encouragement. He says he appreciates it, which only makes her angrier. Mayu tells him not to provoke her, saying she was a huge help. Loki rushes to hug her, saying she taught her everything about using skills and fighting monsters. Mayu says her lessons were excellent, and even though she was nervous, she successfully defeated the monsters. Tsukasa notices the two are getting along well. His partner pats his shoulder and says it must be tough on him. Mayu announces that dinner is ready and asks for help setting the table. They agree. A short time later, they are all sitting around the table to eat. Mayu excitedly talks about her first dungeon and how she beat the boss. Ren notes that her skill control is impressive because the curse allowed her to inherit the same dark art skill. According to the goddess, they will eventually reach the same level. Loki teases him to be careful, or his sister will surpass him, adding that his divine dignity is nowhere in sight. The MC simply thanks her. Later, while walking with his partner, he apologizes for the trouble with his sister. She replies that she just wanted to help and asks if they can discuss their future goals. He agrees. Hashi states his goal is to conquer the next mythical class dungeon and believes they must spend time building a foundation for it. This means conquering dungeons, leveling up, and also increasing the number of guild members. With just the three of them, their combat power is a bit lacking. Kisaragi asks if his sister has joined the guild and says that if it's about combat strength, she has a solution. She explains her summon underling skill evolved, allowing her to turn defeated monsters into her subordinates. Her partner realizes that this means they won't need to increase the guild's numbers. Tsukasa adds that he also doesn't plan on revealing too much about his goddess and her abilities. She agrees, saying they'll be selective about which monsters to make subordinates and continue clearing dungeons until the MC's phone rings. He answers. It's the director, asking if he has a moment. Kisaragi asks what the issue is. Rentoro explains that the masters of the three great guilds are interested in him and warns him to be careful. He explains there was a meeting of some of the world's top adventurers, Crimson, Myriad, and Azarzand. They are all capable of conquering hero-level dungeons solo. Tsukasa doesn't understand why they are targeting him. The director asks about the beginner dungeon that recently vanished. He confirms it. Rentaro says that before that incident, he encountered an arched man that should never have appeared in a mid-ranked dungeon. And then there was the case where the search party was wiped out. The guild masters found out And now they suspect the two of them are involved in these two anomalies. The MC says this is a problem. Then his eyes widen at who he sees in front of him. On the phone, the director asks what happened. He says he will call back later and asks who the person in front of him is. The person recognizes him. Kisaragi asks how he knows his name. The man introduces himself as the master of Myriad Otari Kyoshiro and says he came to meet him personally. He's interested and asks for a moment to talk. Tsukasa asks if he can do something about his dangerous aura. Kyo replies that his intimidating presence is just a habit, and getting rid of it is an impossible request. He closes the distance in an instant and attacks with his skill. The mug blocks it with his arm. Ori says he'd expect nothing less from the one who took down an arched man in a mid-ranked dungeon. Kisaragi again demands to know what he wants from him. Kyo asks if it isn't obvious, stating he wants to test his strength. Ren points out they're in the city center where someone might see them. Uri responds that guildmasters have certain privileges, including permission to use their abilities outside of dungeons. The official reason is for riot suppression, but it would be a shame not to abuse that authority sometimes. He tells him not to worry and to use his full power. Tsukasa watches him, clenching a fist that crackles with lightning. Kyo looks shocked, trying to defend himself as an explosion erupts. The MC says he hopes he's satisfied because he's about to get the fight he wanted. Uri smiles and emits a powerful light, saying he'll make this flashy and not to go too far east. Kisaragi understands the hint as they both charge forward. Kyo attacks. Tsukasa dodges, clenches his fist, and counters. His opponent falls back, and he follows up with a much more powerful punch. Uri says it wasn't bad and that he's taking things to the next level. He vanishes and instantly reappears behind him. The MC realizes his enemy is getting faster. Kyo lands a swift blow, sending him flying. Kisaragi holds on, thinking, as expected of a guildmaster. He's really strong. Uri wonders if his punch landed properly, considering he was just fighting in entry-level dungeons a short time ago. I just wanted to gauge your strength, but I like what I see. Join my guild. His two partners look shocked. Kyoyo adds, not many can fight me on equal footing. I'll give you special treatment. It's not a bad deal. I refuse, Tsukasa replies. My partner and I have already decided to conquer a mythical ranked dungeon. Yuri laughs. Conquer a mythical ranked dungeon? Just the two of you? Suddenly, he glows with a bright light. Don't talk nonsense. I'll eliminate you right now. Try it. The mix stares him. Their attacks collide with immense force. Kyo launches a lightning ball. Another strong flash causes a massive explosion. Kisaragi yells, "Do you even know how to hold back?" I don't need to, Eri replies. The fun is just beginning. Tsukasa thinks this is getting problematic. They glare at each other and start trading blows again until another group arrives. How she looks shocked to see two people, Shizuka and Tsunasha. What do you two think you're doing? Kaio demands. The MC notes their strength. Stay out of this, Eri warns them. Can't you two behave for once? Namasa asks. While the fight continues, Mizuki apologizes, saying, I didn't mean to interrupt your meeting. We were just passing by, Kisaragi says. Shouldn't you stop them? She replies, leave them be. It will end soon. The two partners watch awkwardly until the fighting ceases. Do you even have the dignity of a guildmaster? Shizuka asks. I didn't realize you were this foolish. The two begin trading insults. I'll report these two idiots to the director, Mizuki sighs. She turns to the boy. Do you know anything about the dungeon disappearance incident? Even the smallest detail would help. Why are you asking me Tsukasa questions? Do you think I know something? Kyo states you and the girl have encountered dungeon anomalies 2 times now. It's hard to believe you know nothing, given you were there for both incidents. It's only natural to suspect you're involved in the dungeon disappearances. Namasa asks the girl, does anything come to mind? No, Hashi replies, nothing in particular. I was too busy trying not to get wiped out. Uri questions the boy, who insists, I know nothing. They stare each other down. Kyo grins. You've got guts. You should join my guild. I already refused, the MC reminds him. Ori adds, the girl can join too. I have no complaints. Well, we have plenty of complaints. The other two guild masters grumble. Kyo says, looks like we're all after the same prize. We can't waste such talented youths, Sunasha says. Shizuka adds, I won't give him up. Isali. Uri declares, let's settle this with a fight. Let's handle this fairly, Mizuki interrupts. Whoever wins rock, paper, scissors gets to recruit him first. They all agree and start a game of rock, paper, scissors. A few days later at the Azure Storm Guild, Loki remarks, impressive. The boy got here without any trouble. Kizaragi thinks I was just summoned. It's not like I'm a big deal. Welcome to our guild, Shizuka says. We're happy to have you. Please, take your time and look around. She smiles warmly. Loki thinks it must be tough being so popular. Our time is limited, Mizuki says. I want to see your strength with my own eyes. So that's what this is about, Ren thinks. I thought recruiting my partner was the goal. Sekasa asks, is this your true intention? Aren't you curious to know where you stand now? Shizuka asks. Loki thinks this woman knows what she's doing. The MC smiles. I accept your request. How she looks startled. Kizaragi asks, who am I fighting? Don't tell me it's you. A subordinate starts to say something. But Mizuki cuts him off. I'd love to, but it would become an all-out brawl. Your opponent is him, the ace of our elite force. Any objections? Understood, Sakasa replies. Let's begin. Meanwhile, in the training field's waiting room, Loki notes, you seem unusually eager for a fight. What changed? If I'm going to challenge a mythical class dungeon, the MC says, I can't only fight monsters. That makes sense, she replies. What happened to your usual ragged clothes? It's just my uniform, he says. The goddess interjects, a man who defeated a god shouldn't look so shabby. This is a late reward for eliminating the fox spirit. Accept it gratefully. Kisaragi senses a dark mana. New equipment? I'll put it to good use. All right, it's time to go. Sometime later in the training room, Kong states confidently, this win is mine. Mizuki warns him not to let his guard down. That boy is surprisingly strong. Kong tells her not to worry, saying he'll teach the kid how tough the world is and go all out from the start. They face off and the master calls for them to begin. Kong slams his weapon into the ground. As Sakasa watches, Kong asks what's wrong and why he hasn't drawn his sword. The MC says he wants to test how far he can go without it and asks if that's not enough to take him down. Furious, Kong unleashes his storm attack. Kizaragi remarks, that's some harsh language for a simple skill test. He smiles and moves in quickly, attacking with his ability. Sakasa thinks to himself that facing this head-on is too dangerous. He just needs to dodge. Kong yells at him not to underestimate him. He raises his weapon, then looks startled as the boy closes in and strikes him. Kong smirks. The MC looks confused as his opponent says he won't lose until the attack detonates. Kisaragi emerges unscathed. Kong can't believe he managed to dodge that. Sakasa gestures with his hand and says, time to level up. He clenches his fist, attacks with his ability, and thinks this guy is fast for his size. Lightning flashes across the arena as he continues to attack. Kong asks if he's even taking this fight seriously as he grabs his weapon and charges. The MC draws his sword, saying, that's a bold accusation. He attacks with his flame ability, declaring that he is taking this very seriously. Kong shouts that his lightning attacks are useless as a huge explosion erupts. He then charges forward with his weapon. Kizaragi blocks the strike, noting how light it feels. He counters, sending his opponent flying. Kong steadies himself with his weapon, only to see flames rushing toward him. He uses all his strength to block the incoming attack. Tsukasa keeps up the assault until he stops and says it was about time. Kong insists the fight isn't over yet. The MC just smiles and agrees. Kong looks terrified. Kizaragi declares, this is the end, and activates his divine thunder. Startled, Kong asks if he was deliberately charging the ground with electricity. Tsukasa unleashes the thunder, scorching his opponent. He then walks over with his sword and declares his victory. A short while later, Kong is carried away on a stretcher. Mizuki can't believe he was so completely overpowered. She thanks him, saying it was impressive to watch. The MC replies that he also learned a lot. Shizuka says she hadn't planned to call him, then asks if he would consider joining the Azure Guild. Kizaragi asks if she can give him a break. Mizuki replies that very few adventurers can fight that skillfully. Tsukasa asks if this is just because she was testing him, adding that if she'd been serious, he wouldn't be standing here now. The master explains that Kong is one of the strongest in her guild. Few can defeat him. The MC then asks if she wants him to join the Azure Guild. She replies that he has immense value. Someone who appeared during the dungeon anomalies with strength rivaling a guildmaster. It would be strange not to want him as an ally. She promises him the best conditions and asks for his answer. Kizaragi answers that no matter what she says or what conditions she offers, his answer won't change. He has no intention of joining any guild unless his partner does too. Jizuka looks over at Ren, who says she wants to live freely and have adventures with her grandfather, not be tied down, so her answer is the same as her partner's. Mizuki notes that their determination is firm, but says she won't give up that easily. She's certain they both feel the same way. Tsukasa thinks back to the two masters. The master says she saw something interesting and looks forward to working with them. He bluntly refuses and walks away. She watches them go, muttering that they both belong to her. As they walk, they discuss Shizuka. The Lent glances at his phone, then puts it away. His partner asks if he's okay with how things ended. He admits he has a bad feeling about it. Hashi's phone rings and he picks it up. It's Namasa, who apologizes for the unexpected call, and they start talking. Kizaragi watches, thinking that this is getting complicated and he needs to figure out how to handle it. Later, alone in his room, he's unsure what to do about the three guilds, and now he has to go to Crimson too. The only authority higher than a guild master is the JDMO, and he wonders how he should approach them. The MC is quiet for a moment before grabbing his phone. Is this what they mean by hiding in plain sight? He says, I have the perfect idea. He calls someone and asks for a moment of their time to discuss something. Over at the JDMO, Ki-io wonders what the director is thinking. The other guild masters sit waiting for Todu, all assuming the meeting is about the boy. Later, in the meeting room, Renaro says the preparations took longer than he expected. Uktari asks what he wants, pointing out that they're all busy. The director retorts that he's also busy thanks to the mess Uktari caused, and that he's already heard all about the boy. Even the three major guilds have their limits. They say they can't just ignore someone with so much talent and want to hear what he has to say. The MC suggests they settle it with a match, declaring he'll join whichever guild wins. They ask for the terms. Todu explains it's a four-way competition, a race to clear a dungeon in the fastest time. A time attack. Kisaragi clarifies that the first guild to defeat the dungeon boss wins. But if we win first, the master interrupts, finishing. Then everyone else stops trying to recruit him. Kaio, as usual, gets angry, sensing this is a bad idea. Renaro adds that an advanced dungeon will open in 1 week. As for participants, any number is allowed. Someone slams the table and the two masters vow to make them regret this. The director specifies that guild masters cannot participate. They must form parties from within their guilds to prove who is strongest, his team or theirs. As Loki watches, a voice accuses her of betrayal. The goddess feigns ignorance, asking what it means. The voice accuses her of giving power to a human, asking if she has forgotten the rule against interfering with mortals. She retorts that she has no reason to obey such laws. Rules made by those who wish to destroy humanity mean nothing to her. The voice declares them enemies, vowing to start by getting rid of her favorite little project. Loki smiles, saying her favorite is strong, so it shouldn't be careless. Or it might be the one getting taken out. The MC insists they have a chance to win. Ren points out that even without the masters, They'll face the top 10 adventurers from each of the 3 guilds. Asking how he possibly plans to win, he says not to worry about losing as he has a plan. However, it's going to be a race against time. Hoshi observes them and asks what the plan is. He responds that they'll dive into the dungeon to increase his followers, outnumbering them from the start. Then he cheekily asks if she'd call that unfair. Kisaragi stands, saying they should assemble their teams. 1 week later, the director announces the start of the Dungeon Clearing Guild competition. The dungeon, Black Ant Hell. Both interference and cooperation are permitted. The first guild to defeat the boss wins. As a precaution, all participants must wear a GPS for precise location tracking. If any anomalies occur, the competition will be suspended, and the guild masters will be permitted to intervene. The masters watch as a JDMO official tells the participants to go to the dungeon gate, and Tudu's group to the waiting room. Ren wishes her partner good luck. Sakasa tells her to leave it all to him. Sometime after entering the dungeon, he says they need to reach the boss room as fast as possible. The Mick glances aside, noting it won't be that easy. A group blocks his path, declaring the area restricted. To pass, he'll have to defeat them first. Kisaragi sighs, saying the 3 major guilds have truly disappointed him. He didn't think they'd resort to such cheap tricks, but it's within his expectations. He moves his hand, activating his follower summoning skill. Mana swirls, and from it, beasts are summoned. The rival group looks on in shock, confused. They start yelling that no one told them about this skill. Sakasa orders his beasts to handle them, but not to finish them off. The beasts charge toward the group and begin their assault. The group tries to defend themselves, complaining about his skill and the monster's strength. The Mick continues on, then looks back at the noise and says he'll leave it to them. Sakasa fights and dispatches the dungeon monsters, wondering if he provoked them too much. A monster asks if he's okay, and he says yes. Sakasa then creates a huge explosion, saying that defeating him isn't the win condition. The group complains that their skill was instantly cancelled, an ability only a guildmaster should possess. The MC asks if they're taking this seriously. They reply that it's their mission, and they won't let him reach the boss room. Tsukasa summons a boss monster, but they scoff that a mid-level boss won't be enough to stop them. Tsukasa attacks them with a flame skill and says he'll leave the rest to the beast. He walks away, leaving his monsters to deal with them, thinking that besides the ROF members, his remaining followers are the genocide class. He hadn't expected them to interfere this much. That was a miscalculation. He wonders if he'll make it in time right before another group appears, blocking his way to the boss room. His monsters declare they'll handle it and stop the new arrivals. The enemy group is confused by their presence, allowing the nymphs to slip past while the beasts engage them. They roar that they won't let anyone interfere with their master. Tsukasa reaches the boss door but notices something. Kong is already facing the boss and everyone else is down. The boss looks terrifying and dark. A subordinate cries out they can't possibly win. A splash of red appears. Meanwhile, outside, the secretary reports an abnormal magical reaction from the upper dungeon, Black Ant Hell. Even as a rough estimate, that's dangerously close to myth class. As the guild masters watch, Yuka bolts, yelling that he's going to the dungeon. And that's a myth class reaction. Mizik warns that if they don't move now, they'll lose valuable people. Even with the Crimson Order's strength, they can't afford this loss. Namasa observes. No one said we weren't going. Rescuing our guild members and conquering a myth-class dungeon has been our ultimate ambition. Not going isn't an option. Shizuka insists the girl should stay put. Hoshi agrees, adding that by the time they arrive, it'll be over. Her partner is in there and he'll end it quickly. Meanwhile, inside the dungeon, the battle rages. The mech glances over just as Kong is slammed into a wall. His teammate recognizes him, yelling, "Run! That thing is incredibly strong." Kisaragi watches, thinking this isn't the original boss of the Black Ant Hell. It's stronger than the Demon King genocide. Kong tells him to stop. Tsukasa says that talking will only make his injuries worse. Thanks to you all, my stress is through the roof. I'll take it out on this thing. He yells. I don't know what you are, but you'll pay for ruining our match. He dashes toward the monster, dodges its attack, and sizes it up. With a swing of his sword, he sends the creature flying. They lock eyes. He realizes the beast has already regenerated. The monster glares back and unleashes an explosion. In a flash, Kisaragi lands multiple sword strikes on it. The monster surges forward with immense mana and tries to strike, but something is wrong. It can't land a single hit. Tsukasa instantly repositions, landing a volley of blows. He taunts, "You're about to learn who the real hunter is here." The monster charges. He activates his skill, dodges easily, and scoffs, "Too slow." Then, cloaked in blinding light, he closes in and attacks. The beast thinks, this boy? He's far stronger than anyone who's come before. Kisaragi commands, "Kneel." The monster is completely bewildered. Tsukasa demands, "Who are you? Who sent you?" The beast roars in fury, only to have one of its limbs severed. The MC strikes it again and again, warning, "If you don't answer, ... I can simply eliminate you, but I'd rather you swear loyalty." He closes his eyes, using his subjugation skill. A system message confirms. Subjugation successful. The monster apologizes for its earlier insolence and pledges its loyalty upon its sword and shield. Kisaragi asks, "Who's pulling the strings?" Just as the beast is about to answer, a voice cuts in. "To think you managed to make Diabolan your subordinate." She muses, "I suppose that Godslayer title is well-deserved. If even Loki has taken an interest in you, I can see why." Tsukasa asks, "Are you the one behind all this?" "This is our first meeting," Chime says, introducing himself, "and I am here to eliminate the one who defies the gods." Loki asks, "Are you sure you want to take out my favorite?" The MC asks, "You two know each other?" She replies, "We go way back, but we cut ties a long time ago." Scoffs, "You have some nerve." "Eliminating this pest will cool my head." He flashes towards the boy. "I'm a very impatient man." Kisaragi retorts, "Look who's talking," while thinking, "I can't even follow his movements." "What's wrong? Is this all you've got?" Chime smirks, raising his sword. Tsukasa dodges. "Did you really think you could end this in one shot?" And tells him, "You should be proud you dodged that." The MC asks, "Are all your friends this arrogant?" Loki sighs. "He's always been like that. And we're not friends. More like the opposite." She continues, "He's an extremist who believes humanity should be wiped out. We're fundamentally incompatible." Kisaragi asks, "What do you mean?" Chime answers by eliminating the insolent fools who defy the gods. "That is my duty. Don't get in my way." Tsukasa unleashes a powerful aura, summoning his familiars, Genocide, Diabolan. He then asks, "Diabolan, you can fight too, right?" He replies, "Yes, our opponent is a god. We cannot let our guard down." Team says, "In the end, it's just rabble." The familiars charge, but Haim is faster, using a skill to halt their advance while attacking Tsukasa. As the beasts press on, the god scoffs. "Have you forgotten the blessings we bestowed? Only to turn against us now." He blocks the two familiars' attacks, shattering their weapons, and readies his own sword. With a flurry of slashes, he cuts them down. As they fall, they apologize to their master. Tsukasa thinks, even if I can resummon them, it's useless against him. An intense mana begins to swirl around him. Hime watches this, then opens a portal. Kisaragi demands, "Trying to run away?" Dahl retorts that it's a cheap taunt and that the introductions are over. His duty is to deliver justice to the insolent, and he will return one day. When that time comes, he won't hold back. Tsukasa says, "Sounds great to me." The god departs and they watch until Loki notices something. Kaio rushes over asking if they're all right and what happened to the boss. The MC replies that he defeated him. The other masters also approach, wanting to know about the boss. Uri stomps his foot, demanding to know what really happened there. He adds that depending on the answer, they may have to detain him. The other masters remain silent. Kisaragi thinks to himself that he can't say it was a god's doing. Kaio presses, wanting to know what happened. Tsukasa explains that it was like that time they found an Arctman in a mid-level dungeon. An irregular boss appeared. They reply that they already know that, it's why they're here, and demand to know what happened to it. The messy sighs and answers, I defeated it. Is there a problem? Mizoke asks if he really took it down, explaining they came because of an abnormality and had detected magical power on par with a mythical class boss. Namasa asks again if he was the one who defeated it. Kisaragi explains that when he arrived, Kong was already injured, so it wasn't that difficult. The masters can't believe it. Kyo asks about the magic stone. He answers that when the boss was defeated, it vanished along with its remains in the magic stone. Ori thinks that that's not surprising for an irregular boss, but it's hard to believe Kong and the others could have even damaged it. Since no adventurer has ever fought a mythic-class monster, the masters just watch in silence. Tsukasa points out that this was an RTA, which means he won. They look annoyed. Elsewhere, Team approaches a pillar with a horse figure. It welcomes him and asks how the Godslayer was a human. Doll says it's nothing remarkable. They don't pose a significant threat to them. The pillar asks about the others. And besides the gods, aren't they the highest-ranking humans in Japan? The god responds that there's nothing to worry about. The pillar says that humans are constantly evolving, and if they let their guard down, they might end up like the Ninetails, getting their heads torn off. It adds that they can eliminate any unstable elements. And the traitor Loki also needs to be dealt with. Halim responds that he understands. Elsewhere, the MC is explaining what happened in the dungeon. Hashi brings up Doll, asking if gods can move freely outside of dungeons. Loki confirms they can, though it consumes a lot of magical power. Ren realizes this means the god could appear in any dungeon. The goddess adds that even though he can move, he's not omnipotent and must have a cooldown period before he can do it again. Kisaragi says that this window of time is their only chance. Hashi asks if he means they have a period to prepare. He says yes, explaining he fought the god briefly, but at this rate, he doesn't think they can win. His strength is far greater than the Vixens, and they all need to get stronger to stop him. Loki states that the god has no weaknesses. He is a perfect warrior. Ren says they have no choice but to forge their own strength. Thinking that she's the one who needs to get stronger, the goddess warns that's without even considering how much more chaotic things will get from now on. Tsukasa replies that he knows. Loki interrupts, saying they should stop talking because it's time for his sister's dinner. The mech remarks that the two of them are like sisters right before his cell phone rings. He answers, and it's the master with a small proposal she'd like to share. Sometime later in the dungeon, a masked, hero-classed figure appears. She thanks her two partners for coming. Hashi asks what brings her here. Mizuki replies that she still needs to run dungeons to keep from getting rusty, but it gets lonely going by herself. So, she called the two of them, asking if that was a problem. Kisaragi says it's a great opportunity to see the guildmaster in action. Mizuki says that, as thanks for the other day, she'll give them a proper demonstration. Ren watches them, wondering if everything will be all right. Skeletons approach. The master grips her weapon, on high alert. Loki notices her beautiful blade. Hashi says it's a hero-class weapon, just like her sacred sword, named Touched by the Wind of the White World. Mizuki attacks them with a freezing skill, saying, this little one's name is Snow White. Her precious partner, Loki, is impressed by both the sword and her strength. Tsukasa murmurs that she's the master of one of the 3 great guilds. There's no way she's weak. Shai asks what's wrong. He replies that he was just admiring her skills. She smiles and says they'll fight together from now on. The Mick draws his sword and asks his partner if she's ready. Yes, let's go, Hashi replies. They then charge in, attacking the skeletons while Ren takes on one herself. Another approaches from behind, but it's immediately struck down. Kisaragi orders them to freeze, activates his wordplay, then unleashes his flame skill, causing a massive explosion. how she thanks him for the save. Tsukasa rushes over, asking if she's all right. She says she is, and that next time she'll get it right. The master notes that for their first hero class dungeon, they're doing exceptionally well. Meanwhile, she's freezing the skeletons solid. The MC is impressed with her power. Mystic urges them to move forward, saying the boss room is just ahead. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell icon, and like the video. Thanks for watching! Music. However, at the entrance to the boss room, a voice advises that before challenging the boss, they should review his details for a quick analysis. The hero-class dungeon boss, the flutist, is infamous for his brutality. Countless adventurers have challenged him only to be utterly defeated. Shizuka explains there are two main points to watch for. First, the endless summoning of ghost-type monsters through his music. If the boss is attacked, the performance halts and the summoning stops. So, taking him down quickly is the key. Second, he launches ambushes using spatial teleportation. Once he takes a certain amount of damage, he will use teleportation and his music simultaneously. So they must never let their guard down. How she realizes that if they fail to hit him mid-performance, the summons will be endless. Mizuki agrees, saying their top priority is to stop him from playing that flute. The protagonist thinks that, as expected of a hero-class dungeon, this boss is a real pain. But if he can't beat this thing, he'll never stand a chance against that god. His partner asks if he's okay. Kisaragi says it's no problem. Shizuka looks back, telling them to stay alert and that she's counting on them. They come face to face with the boss, playing his flute and surrounded by skeletons. He is the hero-class dungeon boss, the level 60 flutist. Miss says she'll go in first to attack the boss while the two of them handle the minions. They reply that they understand. Shizuka says, "Good answer," and tells them to act quickly. She teleports, facing the enemy head-on. The flutist plays his instrument and the skeletons move toward her two companions. Tsukasa says they don't need to take them all down at once, but to watch their surroundings and avoid getting cornered. Gain says he won't be a burden, so not to worry. The protagonist says he understands. The two advance together while Mizuki fights the boss. She notices two skeletons closing in from behind. Shizuka smiles as she sees the skeletons being incinerated. The flutist looks surprised and remarks that today's challengers are quite capable. Mizuki raises her sword and attacks, yelling, "Now!" Hit him all at once. Kisaragi calls to his partner that he's fine and to go ahead. The system announces the activation of the Divine Thunder ability. Tsukasa closes in on the boss from behind. The flutist looks back, confused, as the protagonist says, "Too slow," and attacks with flames, injuring the enemy. The boss staggers back, Shizuka says, "Well done." He's not getting away. Mana erupts toward the opponent. Mizuki uses her Ice Prison Crystal ability. The flutist thinks, this human is strong, but that man, he's even more unsettling. There's something different about him. He must be eliminated. But to do that, the two women look on confused as the boss thinks, "I'll eliminate that woman first." Kisaragi appears behind him saying, "I knew you'd try that." The boss grits his teeth as Tsukasa attacks without hesitation. As he falls, the flutist wonders how he could have known. The protagonist says his thoughts are easy to read and asks if he was trying to take out his partner to throw him off, as if I'd let that happen. Kisaragi strikes him, creating a massive impact. Lightning and flames erupt toward the fallen enemy, and then a weapon flies toward the opponent. The boss looks shocked, wondering who in the world this man is. Tsukasa walks toward his sword, which is embedded in the enemy. An extremely intense aura is released. The protagonist activates his skill, Kamui, and declares, "It's over." Then he uses Piercing Black Divine Onslaught. The attack is so powerful that it obliterates everything nearby, sending chunks of rock flying. The flutist says, "I see. You're a godslayer." The smoke clears and Kisaragi remarks that he seems to have become quite famous. Shizuka murmurs that he's way too strong. Tsukasa picks up the crystal from the ground and says the dungeon has been cleared. asking if they're heading back. Mizuki replies yes and calls out to the girl. Ren thinks I'm so weak. Just a burden to my partner. If he hadn't been there, I would have been in real trouble. I can't stay like this. I will become stronger, no matter what it takes. Outside the JDMO entrance, Shizuka thanks them for the day, saying she had a lot of fun thanks to them. The protagonist replies, "No, thank you. It was a valuable experience." Mizuki then asks, "By the way, have you two decided on a guild name yet?" Kizuragi says, now that she mentions it, they've been so busy they haven't even thought about it. Shizuka says it's a good way to make a name for themselves, so they should decide soon. Tsukasa agrees, saying he'll talk it over with his partner. Ren looks downcast and distracted. The protagonist asks if she's okay. Ren replies that she's fine and asks what they were talking about again. Kisaragi says it's about choosing the guild's name and asks if she's sure she's okay. Ren answers that she is and that they were planning to discuss it with Mayu next time anyway. Tsukasa tells her to wait, asking if she's also considering Mayu's opinion. Ren responds that of course she is. Mayu is an important member of the guild. Mizuki says she's looking forward to seeing what name they'll choose and says she'll see them around. The protagonist calls his partner to head back as well. Later, Ren appears in an empty, unfamiliar place, looking confused. A voice says, "You seem troubled." Someone teleports into a chair. "As a goddess, I'll make an exception and offer you my guidance." Ren asks if she is Loki. The goddess replies, "That's right. This is the first time I've revealed this form, but appearances are trivial. More importantly," she asks, "you're wondering how to get stronger, aren't you?" Ren replies that as expected of a goddess, she sees right through her. He doesn't want to just be protected by her partner. She definitely doesn't want to be a burden. Loki says you want to fight alongside him no matter what. How brave. Very well. I will personally train you. I trained Tsukasa and Mayu, so it wouldn't be fair to leave you out. I'll be even tougher on you than I was with your partner. Ren replies that she understands. The goddess tells her to let her know when she's ready, and to work on what she lacks until then. Ren looks surprised as a voice says, "Distancing yourself won't get you anywhere." Ren pulls back, startled, and says she's fine, just lost in thought for a moment. Seriously, it's nothing, so don't worry. The protagonist calls her name. Ren says she has something she needs to do, so he should also focus on what he needs to do. I'll catch up to you soon, so you better be ready. Kizuragi replies that it's all right. He thinks I also need to get stronger. If I want to take down Hemdal, I have to become even stronger. But before that, there's something he needs to confirm. The goddess is summoned and finds it unusual for him to be calling her. Tsukasa apologizes and says he needs to clear something up. Hemdal is a radical who wants to wipe out humanity, right? But what does that mean exactly? Loki replies, now that you mention it, I never really explained. To put it simply, to Heimdall and those like him, humanity is nothing more than a malignant disease. The protagonist is shocked. The goddess continues, there are far more humans than there should be. To ensure the world's survival, they believe humanity must be removed. That is Heimdall's ideology. Kisaragi asks, ensuring the world's survival? What are you talking about? The goddess says, it's fine if you don't understand now. I'm not asking you to accept it, but never forget that countless lives rest on your shoulders. This is the path you chose. Tsukasa says, if that's the price for taking down a god, then I'll bear it all, down to the very last shred. Elsewhere, Ren sits on her bed thinking, what I lack is my level, my sword skills, my raw power. But more than anything, I have barely any experience fighting opponents stronger than me. She says, before I train with the goddess, I have to fix that ... but how? Then she gets an idea and picks up her phone. Actually, I know the perfect person. Ren calls Mizuki and asks if she's free. She replies that she is, though she didn't expect a call so soon. But it's not that surprising. Ren asks if she already knew. Shizuka replies that she had a hunch. Your expression when you left reminded me of myself. Not wanting to be left behind by my companions, not wanting to be a burden, wanting to be stronger. I went through the same thing once. Ren says she's surprised and never thought Shizuka had gone through that. Mizuki replies, everyone goes down that path. The only ones who don't are a few rare geniuses. She then confirms the reason for the call, asking what Ren needs. Ren replies, yes, and I know it's quite bold of me, ... But would you train me? I want to become strong enough to stand beside my partner as his equal. Shizuka says that normally she'd stop her and say, there's no need to rush, but it's fine. I accept. But in exchange, you have to come to me directly. If you're not fully committed, I won't do it. Ren replies, of course, and thanks her. Then she hangs up and thinks, just you wait, partner. I'll catch up to you soon. At the JDMO Underground Special Training Fields, Loki says, I thought we were heading to a dungeon. What are we doing today? Model. The protagonist replies that this is prep work, so he won't have to rely on abilities. Noting he can summon more familiars, but they'd be useless against the gods. Divine power. A knight who walks with the gods. Even his trump card has its risks. He says first, he must grow stronger, and for that, he needs their help. The two reply, as you command. Kisaragi says, I'm coming at you seriously. So, you'd better come at me with everything you've got. The two charge in to attack. In the Azure Storm Guild's underground training field, Mizuki approaches. Apologies for the wait. It's time to begin. You must come at me with the intent to win and do your best to survive. Ren, sword in hand, replies, understood. 10 days after the training began, in a hero-class dungeon, the judge of the condemned, Sakasa, vanquishes the beast with a single strike. A knight in armor tries to strike from behind. The protagonist immediately takes him down. His subordinate suggests summoning more familiars so they can fight too. But as Kisaragi trades blows, he says, don't make me repeat myself. If you want to defeat the gods, you must become stronger. That's why all of you... He stops speaking and unleashes an extremely intense power. The enemies are defeated. Crystals fall to the ground. Tsukasa walks forward saying he's moving on. A voice calls out, this is rare. A visitor after so long. What brings you here? This is the boss. The judge of the condemned, King Enma. Do you really need to ask? The protagonist says. The king replies, probably not. Let us begin. The attacks begin. The boss charges, yelling to eliminate each other. Impressive. You blocked that with your blade so quickly. You're quite skilled, Kisaragi replies. I see. I've got a good grasp on things now. He attacks, swinging his sword, which unleashes flames. The king glares and the two close in for a clash. Tsukasa continues to unleash intense flames. The boss catches the blade in his fist, but the protagonist tears his hand away. Didn't I warn you? I understand now, he says, attacking again. The king gets up, dodging the blow. He dodged? Kisaragi notes. Well, he is a hero-class boss. The heavily injured boss says, no way. Did you analyze me from the very first move? Tsukasa states, instant teleportation to a marked target, a temporal space dodge, a troublesome skill, but if you stay alert in all directions, it's easy to counter. The king speaks of power beyond reason, realizing he is the Godslayer. Seriously? The protagonist asks. How far has that rumor spread? The boss smiles. Now I'll fight at full power. But then his arm begins to ignite. Desperate, the king asks, what is this flame? Kisaragi responds, it doesn't matter if it's cut or burned. It regenerates instantly. It's more annoying than a regular ability, so I sealed it. The boss says, impossible. Tsukasa tells him, go ahead and heal. You won't have time. The king is struck again. That was my own ability. ... How? The protagonist replies, I warned you from the start, didn't I? Kisaragi recalls activating his mimicry ability, copying the dodge. I warned you. I figured you out. The boss calls him a monster. That's rude, Tsukasa says. The real monsters are you. He attacks again with his flames, engulfing him. The crystal falls to the ground. His subordinates remark that's just like him, dominating without even using a god's ability. Was it really okay not to make the king your servant? The protagonist replies, I only ever wanted his ability. Besides, strong or not, he's weaker than you two. And I've already decided who my next servant will be. At the JDMO, someone asks, are you all right? It's the secretary. You've been challenging high-difficulty dungeons alone every day. You need to rest. Jizaragi replies, I'm fine. More importantly, I want to enter another dungeon right now. Can you handle the procedures? Did you even hear what I just said? The secretary asks. Tsukasa pleads, I need to become stronger. The secretary sighs, I understand. Which dungeon will you challenge next? The protagonist says, take me there. Hero Class Dungeon, Knights of the Round. The system announces Hero Class Dungeon, Knight of the Round Table. Kizaragi looks on, a boss room right at the entrance. Did I just get a lucky roll? His subordinates warn, don't let your guard down. The ruler of this chamber is very powerful. Why did you choose this dungeon? Tsukasa replies, the first to clear this dungeon was the Michi Nagadu Yoru Guild. Double quotes, ... the one who came closest to defeating a god. Isn't this the perfect place for a pre-battle ritual before fighting one? He enters the Celestial Temple, the Valhalla training grounds. Shizuka asks how long she plans on resting, telling her not to give up if that's all the determination she has. Ren tells her not to speak so lightly. She insists she can still go on and tells her to continue. Mizoke smiles. That's the spirit. Keep at it. The two charge at each other head-on. Elsewhere, a voice remarks that she's severely lacking something. Ren asks what it is she lacks. The voice answers, a thirst for victory, a will to persevere. It's Loki. He explains it's the relentless desire for strength born from greatness. She lacks all of that, but most importantly, she has no sense of danger. The goddess throws a sword near her. Get up. Breaks over? Hoshi asks if she means her lack of awareness. Sun replies, even now, if you don't truly believe you're about to be defeated, if you don't come at me with everything you've got, if you haven't realized it by now, the true essence of the sacred sword is the core of your own power. In the Hero Class Dungeon, Knights of the Round Table, a voice declares, finally, I've been waiting for you. It's Arthur, the Lion King star. The protagonist asks how he knows his name. And who do you think I am? Arthur retorts. His subordinates protest. It's too dangerous to face him alone. We'll fight too. Kizaragi dismisses them. You're all too noisy. The Lion King smirks. Loyal subordinates you have. Go on them. Bring as many as you like. None will be a match for me. Tsukasa thinks he might not even realize he's talking to his own subordinates. This truly is the boss of a high-level hero-class dungeon, Arthur announces. I'll say this now. In this chamber, I am stronger than any knight you have ever defeated, Tsukasa. His opponent extends a hand, summoning a sword. Come at me with everything you have. The protagonist draws his own blade, accepting the challenge. The two clash, their weapons sparking with powerful flames. Asterisk, he's fast, Kizaragi thinks. Asterisk, his reaction speed is even faster than Tome Gnome's. Could this guy be the one? The Lion King taunts, I'm reading your attacks. Have you noticed? Or have you not? Arthur unleashes several weapons toward his opponent. Unfortunately for you, you're absolutely right. The attack closes in. Tsukasa tries to defend but is struck. The Lion King warns, if you keep holding back, you'll be finished. Face the judgment of the stars. The protagonist mutters, is this Ren's power? Several attacks hurtle his way. Enjoy the full might of this supreme magic, Arthur declares. A massive explosion erupts. The Lion King laughs. A powerful, overwhelming aura erupts from Kizaragi's body. Now you're finally getting serious, he says, just as I expected. You're fighting for real now. Tsukasa attacks, but Arthur blocks and counters. I can see you. The protagonist wonders, asterisk, is this guy really just a hero-class boss? He stares him down. You froze again, the Lion King says, launching another attack. Kisaragi dodges some strikes but is hit by others. Too slow, he grits out. Arthur taunts, shatter, Kalinin. A massive mana explosion erupts. The Lion King reveals, my ability star reading allows me to see the future. I can see right through you. Surely that alone won't be enough to stop me. Are you really that weak? If you can't even defeat me, facing the gods is just a pipe dream. Lightning strikes toward Arthur. Tsukasa realizes, so the ability is star reading. That's how you've been predicting my moves. The Lion King confirms indeed. So, what will you do? Escape unscathed or tuck your tail and run? What's wrong? Don't tell me you've given up and chosen to be finished. The protagonist retorts, no chance. Unleashing powerful mana, he declares, I have no intention of falling here. Not until I've eliminated every god who threatens this world. Even if you can read the future. Kisaragi rushes toward him. Charging straight at me, Arthur questions. Tsukasa's eyes widen. The smoke clears. Plasma splashes. The Lion King gasps. Did you just surpass the future? His armor shatters. I never imagined such a thing was possible. So this is the true essence of a godslayer? The protagonist asks, did my power meet your expectations? Arthur replies, it did more than I could have ever hoped. You have done well. I will join you. Kisaragi remarks, you're an unpredictable king. Did you plan this from the start? What do you mean by that? The Lion King asks. I simply wish to confirm if the future I foresaw was correct. Now, I shall grant you the subordination ability. Let us fight together. Tsukasa smiles and the two shake hands. Chains are summoned and a light envelops Arthur's body. I must admit, he says, this doesn't feel so bad. The protagonist begins. From now on, stars. Arthur interrupts, placing a finger on his lips to signal silence. Lion King's star sounds too distant, Arthur says. Just call me Arthur. He then adds, Master. Elsewhere, Mayu asks, is brother okay? Kisaragi confirms he is. His sister says he's pushing himself too hard, that she's never heard of anyone clearing dungeons every single day. Tsukasa says, not yet. It's still not enough to defeat the gods. He needs more. Mayu notices Ren still hasn't returned and wonders if she's really all right. The protagonist puts a hand on her head, asking if he looks worried to her. I'll protect everyone, so don't worry. His sister listens, telling him not to overdo it. Kisaragi smiles and promises he'll never leave her alone, asking her to trust him. Then a phone rings. Tsukasa answers, saying, this pattern again. What do they want this time? The voice on the phone yells, what on earth did you do this time? The protagonist asks, what's with the sudden shouting, saying he didn't do anything. Uri tells him to stop playing dumb and get to the JDMO immediately. There's been another dungeon anomaly. Elsewhere, Renaro notes that he's late. Kisaragi approaches, saying he got there as fast as he could. Mizak asks if Ren isn't with him. Tsukasa replies no, that they've been moving separately recently, and asks what happened. Kushiro says they detected abnormal magical energy in several dungeons. It's exactly the same as what happened during the Black Ant Hell incident. Brenaro says that, so far, 4 dungeons with anomalies have been confirmed, and they're still waiting for a report from Amisha, who went to investigate. The protagonist thinks about the number of effective dungeons, wondering if this is a coincidence or if they're deliberately trying to lure him and the guild. Master out. Ori asks if it wouldn't be better for each of the 4 of them to handle a dungeon, saying if they wait too long, it might be too late. Kisaragi asks what he means by too late. Renaro speaks of a dungeon break, a phenomenon where monsters pour out from the dungeon gate. Tsukasa asks if it's a dungeon escape. Renaro replies, no chance, not even 1 in a billion. It shouldn't be possible. Kushiro says calling it impossible doesn't help when impossible things keep happening. With this many irregularities, they can't afford to be idle. Mizuki says she agrees with Uri and that they should head to the dungeons where the anomalies occurred. A voice agrees with them. It's Namasa, who says leaving the monsters lurking deep inside uncontrolled is too dangerous. If they don't act immediately, people will get hurt. The director says he understands and that the JDMO will issue requests to the guildmasters of K2 Banra and Soren to quickly clear the dungeons with anomalies. Uri says he should have just said so from the start. Shizuka says they'll select their members immediately and head out. Renaro says they also need Kisaragi's help. He asks if they thought he'd refuse, saying of course he'll help. Mizuki asks that he's planning to go alone. Kisaragi replies that of course not. He'll go with reliable allies. He wonders if Ren really isn't coming, thinking for her to hurry up and return already. Somewhere else, Loki says. It seems Hamdall has started to move. It's time to begin the final phase of our part as well. She calls out to the girl. Ren looks at her, and the goddess announces, this is the final test. To strike her with her strongest attack. If she manages to injure her, she'll pass. And if you fail, ... double quotes, Hoshi interrupts. Enough talk. Let's begin. Loki smiles. That's the spirit. She looks like a completely different person now. Here I come. The goddess summons several weapons and launches them toward her. Ren uses her skill, Anchor of Sorrow. They clash. The blows collide with incredible power, and the goddess says she passes. That was a beautiful strike. Hoshi says it's thanks to her guidance and that she is very grateful. Loki tells her to stop with the formalities. More importantly, she asks, aren't you going to Kisaragi's side? Ren replies yes, that she'll stand by him, fight alongside him, and protect his back. She then asks if, before she goes, she can make a request. The goddess asks what it is, telling her to just say it. Hoshi answers that it's nothing significant. The protagonist approaches her. You're here. I was waiting for you. Ren apologizes for making him wait. Kisaragi says it looks like she's ready now. They look at the portal, and Hoshi says that from now on, she'll fight by his side. Kisaragi says he's counting on her. Hey guys, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new content. Thank you. Music. It all began with a massive earthquake that rattled the world, causing dungeons to appear all over the land. The monsters emerging from these dungeons were immune to conventional weapons. The only ones who could fight back were those who had awakened a supernatural power known as a skill. By using their skills to defeat monsters, these individuals could level up and reach unimaginable power. Inspiring both awe and fear, they became known as the Awakened. Our story finds the protagonist facing down a monstrous beast. He stares it down and lunges, landing a heavy blow on his foe. The system flashes, failed to copy the target's skill. As he watches, the beast leaps over him, unleashing a torrent of intense flames, until someone appears to protect him. Remarking that he shouldn't be struggling to take down such a simple enemy, Kisaragi recognizes him, the Flame Master, hailed as the shining star of the next generation of Awakened. His reputation all comes down to his skill. Skills, which manifested in a select few when the dungeons appeared, determine an Awakened's rank and power. Stop sitting there with that dumb look on your face, Kakaru scoffs, and get to work collecting the magic stones. Right, I understand, Tsukasa responds. The Flame Master's skill is considered exceptionally powerful, granting him complete control over fire.